It's time to think about humility, how much we actually know about whiskey, how much we think we understand aromas, flavour, texture, all of it. Can we tell how old a whiskey is? Can we tell how delicious a whiskey is? Can we tell how expensive a whiskey could potentially be? It's time to leave our egos at the door tonight a wee bit and let whiskey lead us a little bit. But it's also time for us to stand up and put the whiskey on trial too, and do a wee bit of humble searching, a wee bit of a curious questioning, and also a wee bit of gamification too. Tonight is all about blind tasting. Leave your ego at the door. I'm kind of forced to do it. I'm looking forward to it as always, and I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the vPub. Welcome to Thursday night. Hope you're all doing very well. Hope you're sitting comfortably. I hope you've got maybe one or two or three, I don't know, some extra pours in front of you tonight if you're playing along for a wee bit of a blind tasting challenge. There's so much to share with you tonight, so much to talk about, so much to catch up on. In fact, I'm only going to be able to just touch on so many things tonight because of just how hectic it's been, wonderfully hectic, and how many things have happened over the last few weeks, and how many things we're looking forward to in the weeks to come, of course, as well. Like I say, I'm only going to be able to kind of touch on a few things. There will be a lock-in early in April so that I can sit down with my guardians, with my patrons, my supporters and things, and bring them right up to speed with everything that's happening. However, tonight I'm going to touch on a few things because there's some thanks to go out there. There's some things to be recognised and things to kind of just be very, very grateful for, I think. So we'll touch on a few things tonight. But for the most part of this evening, I'm going to be looking at blind tasting. One of my favourite things. You know that it's one of my favourite things. The amount of the Aquaviti Blind Challenge, the Blind Challenge when I used to do it with other channels. The first videos on this channel, actually, way back in the day, were actually blind tasting. All of these things that I found fascinating about blind tasting whiskey. And yet when I first came to WhiskeyTube, when I first came to watch content online, way before I was creating content, there really wasn't a lot of people stepping up on camera to do blind tasting of whiskey. I think that the reason it's become much more common these days is because, I don't know, I just feel like that there's a lot more confidence, a lot more humility, a lot more kind of acceptance and pragmatism that we're not going to get it right all the time and it's okay. And in fact, if we are on camera getting it wrong, it encourages other people to play along and understand that it's really quite difficult at times to blind taste whiskey and to get it right. There are people out there that are much better equipped and much more talented at it than other people out there. I would put myself at the kind of a budding, hapless, gets it right occasionally and remembers it so vividly that it seems like I'm getting it right more than I actually am. Whereas I'm lucky if I even get a very small margin, a small percentage rate of it right. But we've got to remember there are multiple different ways and multiple different reasons for blind tasting. And we're going to try and generally cover a lot of it tonight. Before we get into all of it, before we get into all the complexities, while everyone's coming in, grabbing their bar stools, getting a comfortable chair, pouring a whiskey, settling in, now the notification's gone out that the vPub doors are open, I'll give you time to get settled. And while you're doing that, we'll do what we always do, and I'll jump in and welcome some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. Listen, if you're watching on Facebook, thank you very much for picking it up on Facebook. I do appreciate it. The chat that I'm hanging out with tonight, the majority of the chat are over on YouTube. There's a live chat happening. So sometimes I'll go in and I'll see a Facebook comment, somebody's tried to interact or something. The chat that I'm interacting with is on YouTube. If you're watching live with us tonight, hopefully I'll get a chance to interact with you. And if you're picking up on the replay, thank you so much for doing so. I know so many of you do, the majority of you do. People come up to me all the time and say, oh, I never get a chance to sit in live, Roy. It's a shame. And don't worry about it. I really do appreciate everyone that picks it up on the replay. It tells me a lot because live streams, it's hard. I think I've always tried to do a live stream that can maybe have a chance of offering something evergreen so that it's worthwhile watching on the replay. So the fact that so many of you do is really, really wonderful to hear, and I do appreciate it. YouTube appreciates it too. If you're watching here tonight live, leave a wee like. YouTube enjoys that. And if you're picking up in the replay, remember to leave a wee like too. I forget to leave a like often as well. I try very, very hard to remind myself. Anyway, how are you all doing? Hope you're sitting comfortably. Welcome, everyone. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you tonight for another wee Thursday night session. I've got a really thick, oily, funky, challenging even dram in the glass tonight. I've poured, it's here, quite high ABV as well. In fact, almost everything I've got in front of me tonight is really high ABV, and I'm blind tasting after a Chinese curry for dinner. That was not clever. And also everything is a anesthetizing strength on the table beside me here. But this is a Dornick. This is one of Phil and Simon Thompson's creations. This cask number here is, what's the cask number on this one? 2XL, a quarter casks. I think, okay, you know this, you know which one this is by the artwork, right? 57.5% ABV. It's absolutely delicious. Now, I would like to think that I could pick this out in a blind lineup, but it would absolutely depend what I'm sipping it alongside. We'll talk more about that in a wee while. Matt BU, Matt, I wonder if that's a different name. You've got a gold barfly. You've been around here for a wee while, my friend. I think YouTube's changed your handle. 1 year, you're saying, evening, Roy. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for supporting me as a barfly. Matt and Andrew Folds, who's just joined the Aquavitae barflies tonight. Andrew, thank you very much for signing up. For £1.99 of whatever currency, wherever you are, dollars, euros, pounds, you keep every vPub and all the content on Aquavitae channel completely ad-free. I don't share ad revenue with YouTube anymore. You guys take care of that. It's much more interesting for me to do that and not have to run ads next to the stream. Anyway, let's scroll up a wee bit and see how you're all doing. North Coast Drama is in. Fantastic, buddy. How you keeping, Tony? Saying good evening, Aquavitae and Barflies. Wonderful to welcome you in, my friend. I hope you're keeping well. Graham Young is saying, after Leith, I can now totally acknowledge how shite I am at blind tasting, but it's fun, Aquavitae. No. I'm going to try and convince you otherwise tonight, Graham, okay? Peter Frank is saying, evening, Roy, sneeze. Oh, cough, sneeze. Oh, no, don't think I'll make it till the quiz. Frank, did you pick up a bug in Leith? I would like to think by the time I got to Leith, I was no longer contagious. I was on the tail end of my virus. I wasn't coughing and sneezing either. I think you saw the last vPub. I was fairly poorly, but we managed to get through it, right? I'm feeling great now, Frank, and I wish you the same happy health very, very soon, buddy. Don't think you need to hang out with us tonight, my friend. Rest and recuperate, big guy. Gav's Drams is saying, hi, Roy, great night last Thursday. So many lovely people. You made it so much more lovely for being there, Gav. Thanks so much for making the trip through from Edinburgh, buddy. I loved you were there, and how late you were able to stay as well, despite having to get the last train and things. Brilliant. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'm glad you thought it was worthwhile coming through. The neck pour is saying, good evening, barman, and all you wonderful barflies. I worked out who you were this week, didn't I? I can't remember your name, but you've got a YouTube channel. And I was watching, and I suddenly managed to connect the YouTube channel, The Neck Pour, with you joining me in the vPub tonight. So I watched a couple of your videos. Keep it going. Good stuff. Alistair Gray saying, a good evening, Aquavitae and the magnificent barflies. Good to have you in, Alistair. It was wonderful to see you as well, buddy. It's very rare that we cross paths. It was nice to shake hands. And John Ginger Genius is saying, good evening, Roy, and all the barflies. I hope everyone who made it to Leith has recovered. Hey, John, I don't remember if you were there. Were you there? No, you weren't there. You didn't make it, did you? It was a blur. Anthony Lambert is saying, Aquavita, good evening, guten Abend. I'm going to not try to read the next part. I don't even know what language that is in. But he's saying hello to everyone. Just got in from work. We'll grab a few drams with my eyes closed in a minute and join in the fun. Good for you, Anthony. Good for you to be on theme. Paul Gids is in. Good to see you, Paul. Hi, everyone, particularly Aquavita, Roy and Peter Frank. Good to see you, Paul. How are you keeping? Are you well, my friend? And Jimmy Legg is here. Aquavita, wasn't there a guy named Ben that was almost always perfect at blind tastings? We are talking about Ben as well. That was the Whiskey Geek. I do occasionally message Ben from time to time just to encourage him to maybe consider stepping in front of the camera again. But he changed jobs. Some kids came along, young family, all of the things that kind of make it tough to keep up the demands of putting out content on YouTube. But you're absolutely right, Jimmy. Ben was fantastic. You had a great palate. Cesare is saying, good evening, Roy, and all the barflies and pat pals, Slanjava. Good to have you in as always, Cesare. Bowman 1999 is saying, I'm a huge fan of blind tastings. Just what I need this evening. Fantastic. Good to have you here, buddy. Luna Aaron is saying, hello, Roy, and all you lovely ones. Good to see you, Luna. Jerry Miller is saying, good evening, Roy. Great to see you again. And Ryan Sutherland is saying, evening, everyone. And hello, Roy. Hello, Ryan. And hello, Jerry. David in Portugal is saying, oi, oi, Whiskey World, looking forward to this one, Aquavita. These gamified whiskey moments are best thing on YouTube, and I try to replicate these in our sessions when setup time is available. Gamification, will get to that. There's not going to be a lot of gamification for me tonight. I mean, there will be some. I will be trying some Whiskies Blind tonight. I'll be playing along with you. I've actually set up another wee camera here. If I can pull this in just now, hopefully it's working. Did I fix this? Yeah, it's just my notes in front of me just now, but we'll get rid of that and you'll be able to see what I'm doing tonight. So you'll be able to kind of see what I'm doing and kind of play along if you like. Let's see how that goes. I've suddenly made myself nervous realizing I'm doing that. Whiskey Toast is here. You sound better than the last vPub. Is that Paul? Is that our friend Paul Main? I'm feeling a lot better too, Paul. I know you had a fantastic Leith festival. I know you were very, very busy. It was pretty hard to budge or move from any of our tables. It's very difficult for me to move. It's nice to have you in, buddy. It really is. And Alistair Gray is celebrating being a member for 73 months. Alistair, roll on March 2027, he's saying. And so he's obviously talking about Leith. I'll talk about Leith in a second. And Cesare, the fly moocher, is saying, Roy and barflies in my glass Ardbeg Oogie. Superb. Amoculus, celebrating being a member for 38 months. I recognise you, but I don't know how the name. About a year since I last watched this live. Fantastic to have you in. He's obviously blaming his job, and he doesn't seem too happy about it. Listen, it's nice to have you live when you can make it, and don't worry about it. I'm grateful if you pick it up on the replay. I really am. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for your support and joining us in Aquavita Barfly for 38 months too. Wonderful to have you. Wonderful to have you. I'm making I was just about to make a wee note there about the dates for next year. There's some confusion about the dates for the Leith Festival next year. It's partly our fault. I started to share the date very early, and it's obviously changed. Within a couple of days it changed, so I'll get you up to speed with all of that. Highland Hamish is saying greetings from the Highlands. Stormy start to the golfing season up north. The storms have been pretty brutal recently, haven't they, Hamish? And Gordon Burnston is saying, evening all, even Aquavita. If anybody wants to see some fantastic images, go to independentspirits.co.uk, click on the Gallery 2026, and just be wowed by the amazing work of Gordon Burniston. He was the official photographer on the day, and what a job he made of it. Good to see you, Menno. Good to see you, Annabelle. Good to see you, Sandro Fazzolarian as well. So many of you. I'll get on with things this evening. There's a lot to cover. Let's just recap on Leith. I mentioned the dates there. Okay, we'll kick off with that. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who took the time to come up to me on the table. It's the first time I've ever had a table at an event. I don't know if I'll do it again. Maybe I'll do it again. But it was impossible for me to move around. I always find it difficult to kind of move around, especially at the busy festivals. But that meant that I was kind of rooted there. But it was the right thing to do because my daughters were manning the table with me. And they want to say thank you to all of you for being so kind and indulgent of them. I hope that they were kind and indulgent of you too. It seems like they were. I hope they were. But it was just super, super busy. It was just a very, very intense time, the first couple of hours especially, but we got through it and it was great fun. So thank you all for your support. Thank you for picking up merch while you were there. I'll talk about merch. Don't worry, I'll talk about merch. And thank you for coming along and trying the whiskies, and thank you for those of you who went along and bought whiskey after tasting it. Leith was just wonderful. We were all nervous that we couldn't capture the vibe and the spirit and the fun of the first year last year, but I think I was just about to say we managed it. When I say we, I'm not talking about the organisers. I'm talking about everyone that turned up. I'm talking about the exhibitors that turned up in the right frame of mind and the right spirit and the right attitude and everything, bringing the right stuff and too much of the right stuff. Honestly, it's just incredible. And then all of you guys who turned up, and I don't remember hearing a story, witnessing anybody that took it too far or had too much. Everybody left polite, content, happy, and upright. Some of you were extremely happy. Just very, very grateful when you realized the type of event that it was. It means that immediately I had breakfast in the morning with David and the two of us, and he just said to me straight away, he said, right, we're doing it next year, 13th and 14th of March. And I started to share that date immediately just to let people know. And within a couple of days, we'd changed it, because obviously we have to go back and check out when the rugby's on, when are the choke points in Edinburgh, when's it going to be easier, when's it going to be more tricky. And it became very, very clear very quickly that the week after, so that's the Friday 19th through Sunday the 21st, that weekend in 2027, March 19 to 21, next year is for anybody that's interested in Leith, that's when you should be focusing. It's wonderful. We've got these events now to bookend the year. We've got Leith kicking off the season more or less. Quite early in the season, let's say. There's other festivals that kick it off, of course. There's Fife Festival and other fantastic events. But right at the start of the season, we've got Independent Spirits Festival in Leith in March. And then closing out towards the end of the season, one of the last festivals of the year is Glasgow, of course. And these are huge, huge barfly events now. Just amazing to see so many friendly, happy faces at these events. And I'm looking forward to welcoming you to Glasgow at the end of the year, but of course back to Leith next year too. So the dates are covered. I can tick that off. We're in good shape. Thank you all so much. Please go on to independentspirits.co.uk. There's a wee video going out there as well. I think we need to get the video uploaded to the website. It's just a little taster video as well that was really quite nice to see. And it just gives you a sense of what to expect at that festival. But what I've got pinned in the comments right now is a link to a Google form. And that's, as organisers, what we're trying to do is just not just go on the anecdotal feedback, but collect real feedback and see what the majority of the feelings are. I think when people are really happy and excited and they want to come up and say nice things, that's very easy. But I think if there's something that's bothered them or something that they felt wasn't right, there's lots of space for you to leave that there, and it's completely confidential. You can just say what you want to say and no problem at all. We'll use it to tweak things and make things better for 2027. So that link is live in the chat right now. It's a Google form. It'll take you 2 minutes to fill out. You don't need to do it now. Open it up in another browser. Do it when you're free. It's going to stay open for a few more days. And we're going to use that to help map our mission and goals for next year to try and have the same thing. Cesare has bought Aquavite gift memberships, so he's 5 random people in the chat tonight are going to pick up an Aquavite membership. Thanks to Cesare. Thank you very much for your generosity, buddy. Cheers. Also, a couple of quirky things that people are struggling with. If you support me through aquavite.com as a guardian, you sign up and you get an email, a welcome email from me and thing, and there's instructions and things in there. But what's critical about signing up, if you want to be kept up to date, you must accept marketing. It's law. Unless you check that box or make sure it stays checked to accept marketing, I can't tell you about bottles. I can't tell you about the events. I can't tell you about even the weekly vPubs and share stories and whatever it may be. If I can't email you, I can't keep you notified. Please keep that box checked. when you sign up as a Guardian, you also have the ability to join the Guardian Circle. Now, that's a completely separate social platform. I can show you here. I can open it up. You sign up for this. It's an option. You do not have to. It's only for people who are into such things. And you can take my community with you in your pocket as part of this app. And you can see I'm telling you about the latest vPubs. There's chat in there. And this is only a couple of months old now. This has just started at the end of last year. So we're just building it up. People are understanding how to use kind of this new platform. I'm starting to understand how to use it better each time as well. If you're trying to get a hold of me directly, if you do sign up for the Aquavitae Guardian Circle, you need a separate account. You need to sign up for a separate account that's separate from Aquavitae to join the circle. You join that social platform after being a supporter of me, and you get access to it. And the direct messaging system in there, you can direct message other members, but you can also direct message me, and that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. I'm scanning emails these days. It's very difficult to keep up with all of the things from all of the projects coming in all of the time. So I'm focusing on you guys through the support platform that is aquavitae.com, the Guardians pages, and of course, the Guardian Circle. So I hope that clears things up for you a wee bit, but it does require a separate account. So if you're trying to log into Circle with your aquavitae.com account, it's not going to work unless your login credentials are identical, the exact same. Okay, I'm going to tidy this one up real quick. This should be easy to do. I'm going to talk about merch ever so briefly. Merch went down very, very well. It was very popular at Leith Festival when I had a table there, but because of borders and tariffs and Brexit and all the nonsense, merch became very, very difficult for me, very time consuming. So I'm going to find other ways around it. And I'm currently trying to convince my daughters to take on board some of the responsibility. But there will be opportunities for you in the future to get hold of merch. It's just not going to be as easy as it was once upon a time. Some of you bought these at Leith Festival, right? These are the acrylic glass toppers. They come in this wee kind of pouch. And of course, there's a set of 6 designs inside. Now, these are clear coins, but when you get them, they're going to be white like this. And that's just the backing paper. So many people are coming back to me and saying, right, I think I bought the wrong thing. I've got white coins. I meant to get the clear ones. And I'm saying, no, just enjoy the satisfaction of peeling off the backing paper and having a perfect, wee, clean, unscratched, unused glass topper to keep all the aromas and the flavors and everything locked in the glass. These are really, really easy to use. I've got quite good at using it with one hand like this, and you can even put it back down with one hand as well. So yes, I have been messaging loads and loads of people directly to tell them, just peel it off, just peel it off, just peel it off. So there you go. You now know that it's very, very easy just to peel them off. Please don't be disappointed that you've got white coins when you were supposed to have nice clear ones. There we go. Maybe there'll be less direct messages coming back. I should have put something on the thing just to let people know. Sorry, I'll get the housekeeping out the way as quickly as I possibly can. Covered. We're doing quite well. We're doing amazing. We're doing amazing. Everyone's asking about the smoking. It's over my shoulder here. It is going to be a subject. It's going to be a part of the blind tasting this evening, the smoking. This is my smoking. This is, I shouldn't say my, it's our smoking. It's my smoking. It's 10-year-old, floor malted, lightly peated, golden promise, exclusively golden promise. Like I say, 10 years, matured in ex-bourbon, Swedish coopered quarter casks. I'm so happy with it. I'm so happy with it as well. It's one of these really, really dense, compact, concentrated whiskies. You need to get it in the glass. You need to give it a bit of air. Air is more important than water. I think it comes alive with water. It's very delicious with water, but I think air is even more important. Just for you to be able to access how wonderful a thing that it is. A lot of people were in a hurry to buy it at Leith. And a lot of people were anxious that I was selling it at Leith before it went out to, and it was just because it arrived immediately before the Leith Festival weekend, and there's so many people traveling, so rather than paying taxes and duties and things, they can take it home. So we got it available for sale. I need to be clear about a couple of things. A lot of the releases recently, Ardnahoe, Glasgow, the Macallan Virtual Malt, and this Smogan, it's not like the old days, the Loch Lomans, the Ardnamurchans, or the Daffmills, where there was anxiety about me making sure that all my supporters got a bottle. And that if any made it out to public sale, it was the last handful of it and it just evaporated quickly. And then you've kind of got that discussion constantly of people saying, oh, I wish I'd had the chance to buy another bottle. You know, I wish I'd bought 2. I wish there was more, that kind of thing. So what we've done is we've moved away from that now for some of the bottlings. Where I have the opportunity, where my collaborative partner, in this case Smogan, is willing to allow me more than one cask, I'm going to make a much bigger batch that I can take care of everybody, and it can just sit available for people to pick up a second bottle long after the initial launch date. Ardnahoe was like this. Glasgow, the Macallan, sorry, I shouldn't say Macallan, the Virtual Malt Speyside 17-year-old, the Smogan. They will not, all the releases will not be like this. I still want the ability to go back and do a single cask and just go through and make sure that it goes to supporters and just run it in that way. However, I'll manage that. I'll explain to everybody whether this is something to be anxious about, whether it's something that's finite, or whether it's something that's finite, but it's actually more like a limited edition small batch that's going to be around for a long time. I hope that's clear. There needs to be no anxiety about Smogan. I know we sold dozens at the festival. We've sold dozens since. There's plenty available. There's plenty of this available. I suspect that when you taste it, you're going to love it. I suspect that when it goes over the shoulder, you're going to be thinking about getting another bottle. This is one of those bottlings that it doesn't need to be like the Loch Lomans or the Ardnamurchans or the Daffmills from the past where we look back and wish we'd had the opportunity to or been able to buy a second bottle. These, it's available to do so. I hope that makes sense. It's out there. You don't need a password. You don't need a code or anything. Raw Mill Whiskies, type in Aquavitae, and you can see the bottles that's still available for sale from Raw Mill Whiskies. Easy peasy. I noticed that my pal, Jim, is in tonight. Jeff Whiskey Novice has bought me a dram and he said, great to see you, the girls, and so many legends in Leith Aquavitae. See you later in the year. I'm looking forward to it, Jim. It was a pleasure to see you there as well. But more than that, I want to raise a wee glass, Jim, and say thank you very much for doing an excellent session last night to keep everybody occupied while I was away again. I'm going to explain why I was away. Cheers, Jim. Thank you for looking after us all. The Scotch for Dummies were over. Wonderful guys. 4 guys that have been doing content on a channel, Scotch for Dummies now, for almost 11 years, for over a decade now. I think it is 11 years now. And that's amazing that 4 guys can stay together for that amount of time and stay stuck to the program and still enjoying what they're doing. I met these guys way back in 2017 for the first time. And there was always talk about them coming over as a bigger group, more of them. Supposed to be 4 of them this time, but Mark had to back out at the last minute. We were all gutted for him. But I was Mark for a couple of days, and we just had a wonderful time. Their schedule meant that the only night that we could do an event together was Thursday of last week, which is why this was planned for a long time. I know that I told everyone. But it was right on the back of me being missing a few weeks before that because I was poorly. And it's the first time, I think, in the 9 years of the vPub that I've been away sick and then taking that time off for S4Ds. The reason I'm suggesting this and I'm saying this to you now is not to make excuses or anything, because next week is Easter holidays. I always take one vPub off at Easter time because that's the family holiday. It's sacrosanct. So I know that we're only in April now, and already that's 3 vPubs being missed in 2026. I just want everybody to know I'm mindful of it. I'll make it up to you. We've got 5 Thursdays in April, so there'll still be, despite the Easter holidays, There'll still be 4 vPubs in April. I hope you'll forgive me. I'm very mindful of the fact that I've been a little bit AWOL and delinquent this year, but it was a case on every single count of needs must. I hope that's okay. We had a wonderful time with the Scotch for Dummies. Last Thursday night, we had a tasting at the Bon Accord. It looked like we were going to get about 24 people, so we set the places up for 24 people, and 40 people turned up. We managed to make the flights stretch out. We were pouring 1.5 CL pours. It was amazing. Very, very, very glad that we did do that. So everybody got a dram, everybody got settled, and we had a brilliant time. Some people didn't have a tasting mat, but that didn't matter. And I hope that everybody had a great time. Certainly myself and the boys had a fantastic time. It was free for everyone that time. There was no tickets or anything. I'll never do that again because there's no control. The reason you have tickets is because you know how many people are coming and they've paid and they're invested and they're going to have a seat and things. But we tried it. We just decided it was our opportunity to say thanks to whoever could make it. So it was a wonderful, wonderful session. And on behalf of Sean, Drew, and Andrew, and myself, I want to say thanks to everybody that made it along and made it such a fantastic night. I was worried that after the high adrenaline of Leith and the events at the Belfry, I had an event at the Belfry that was just fantastic as well. I loved it. Rory and I going head to head with auction purchases, blind tasting, of course, to see who could do best. I won. I was 11 points ahead of Rory at the end. He was on 400 and something. I was on 400 and something. I was 11 points ahead, but we had a point for every pound under the budget that we'd spent. I was £25 under budget and get 25 points, but he was £50 under budget and he ended up winning by 14 points. I was gutted, crestfallen. Obviously that meant that I was picking up the bar tab for everyone that night, but it was a pleasure for me, and it was wonderful to welcome you all to the Belfry in Edinburgh. Cesare's bought me a dram to say whiskey is my geek space to search for new stuff. It is for me too, Cesare. It is for me too. And Anthony Lambert is saying 22 sleeps to Limburg. I'll see you there, buddy. I'm looking forward to it. Cheers. There's going to be more. I'm going to talk more about the Scotch for Dummies a wee bit later this evening, because they've left me a gift and I'm going to put it to work tonight. Why am I talking about blind tasting tonight? Well, I'm talking about blind tasting because I love blind tasting. I'm obsessed by it. Let's be honest. I truly am. However, I think that if we go back to the early days of WhiskeyTube and YouTube, there was not a lot of blind tasting. Before I started on YouTube, it was the Scotch test dummies. They were doing blind tasting with March Madness and all these crazy things they were doing, and it was great fun. But there wasn't, it felt like there was a lot of kind of stuffiness, and I don't know, just people that were maybe afraid to fail with blind tasting. Oh, I think it comes from wine almost, where there is objective ways. I don't know nothing about wine, but where you have to pick out regions, varietals, all that type of thing. And there are things that you can be trained to appreciate in wine. I think whiskey is a very, very different animal. I think whiskey can be very, very tricky at times. The higher strength, the fact it's a distilled product. For so many more reasons, whiskey is a much more kind of fickle partner when you're tasting blind. But that doesn't mean to say that we can't have fun with it. It doesn't mean to say that it can't teach us things. And it doesn't mean to say that it can really make us question how much money we're spending on whiskey, how much time we're spending with it, how much we value certain brands, how much we value certain styles, and how we can be writing off entire categories or entire lines of products just because of once upon a time we decided that we don't really like it. Blind tasting is not necessarily a scary thing. Blind tasting can be your friend. That's what I intend to attempt to set out tonight. But let's see how we go on with it. Sure, I'm sad to have missed Leith, says Jimmy Legg, but I hope you and your family had fun and sold some kit. Jimmy, we had the best of times. The girls loved it. The girls said immediately, I thought they were there just to earn a bit of money. I mean, I paid them for it. I absolutely did. But they came away saying we would do that again. That was good fun, great energy. They just loved it. They just loved being there. Nick Porter saying, good night. I'm heading to bed. I'll see you all back on the catch-up. Now that you're back on the catch-up, my friend, it's nice to have you back again. Jesper Bach is saying, it was brilliant to meet you there on Thursday night, Jesper. Cheers for a great tasting, Roy. It was great meeting you at the Bond. It was great fun, Jesper. You and your pal Archie, it'll be a pleasure to welcome you back again. Alistair McPhail is here. Do you get more pleasure from setting blinds or taking part as a punter? Yes, is the answer to that. Blind tasting is the best thing ever, Aquaviti, says Jim. Roy, it can make fools and heroes out of the best of us. Best of all, it takes down all of our misconceptions. Love it. And David Barnes is saying the girls did good. Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. I opened the Scotch for Dummies tasting in Glasgow last week with an old Pulteney 17, David, with your name on it. I promised you when you gifted me that I would put it to good use, and it was the first of the blind drams that we had with the S4Ds last week, and it went down a storm. It was very well loved. Thank you for your generosity, buddy. And Rick Johnson is saying, thanks for all the free drams last Thursday, Roy. It was an absolutely awesome way to spend my last time at the Bon Accord. Hey, buddy, I feel like it's weird to think that you're often the furthest travelled guy. You're just such a familiar face around Scotland and Glasgow these days now. I love that you love coming across, and it's a pleasure to welcome you. Thank you very much for the generous dram, Rick. Here's to you and Catherine. And Justin Wan is saying, see you later this year. Flights booked for Glasgow Whisky Festival. Well, here's to that. And I imagine that our pal Rick Johnson will be back with us again, Justin. Cheers, buddy. I need to get some whiskey in the glass now. And we're obviously going to do it blind. The first thing we're going to stand off with, I'm going to try, and I always forget to use these banners as markers, but this helps me with the timestamps the next day to help people navigate in an express way. But there's at least 2 different ways for us to blind taste whiskey. There's lots of different ways that we can set up the mechanics of it, the function of it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm speaking about the reasons that why we might blind taste whiskey. And number 1 is to test ourselves, to educate ourselves, to learn a bit more, to strip away bias, to strip away preconceptions, branding, packaging, how much we've paid for the whiskey, all of these wonderful things. But I think there's another way to blind taste whiskey as well, and that is to put the whiskey on test. For us to not try and test ourselves, what ABV, what age is this, what region is this, what distillery is this, blah, blah, blah. No, to literally just sit there and sip and say, what do I think about this whiskey? Do I like this whiskey? How much have I paid for this whiskey or these whiskies that are in front of me? And go through and make notes, have thoughts, and appreciate them without knowing what they are. It's when the whiskey has to work for your attention, that's when it becomes fascinating for me. We talk about whether we're good at blind tasting or not. We talk about whether we are skilled at it. It's a nonsense. It doesn't matter. A lot of it is to do with our natural talents and capabilities. A lot of it's to do with our health, our mood, what we've eaten, all of that stuff. And let's be honest, we're not going to live our lives just eating dry porridge and dust in order to be very, very skilled at a blind tasting late in the evening. No, whiskey's part of living. And that means that the things that come around whiskey is part of living too. So we're just going to live normally and eat normally, like everyone does. And if that means that at the end of the night that we're not optimally set up in palate-wise in order to do a proper blind tasting, so be it, because whiskey is about fun. If we were a blender, a master blender, if we were paid money to assess whiskey or review whiskey, such a thing, then maybe we would have to do it in a very, very controlled environment. Maybe we'd have to think about things, the condition of our palate and things like that. But that's not what whiskey is for us. Whiskey for us is to be fun and enjoyable. So we put the whiskey on test as much as it puts us on test. And I also want to clear something up very, very early on, because it's an important thing. I'm going to be carefully put this used glass off to the side because we are blind tasting tonight, and I'm going to pick up a clean glass. And I'm going to uncork. I've actually got two here that I could uncork, but I'm going to uncork this one because it's very of the moment. I thought I tasted this at Leith, and then somebody suggested that it wasn't this that I tasted, it was another Clynelish. So I'm now second guessing myself. Doesn't matter. I've bought this. I paid £50 for this. And this is a 10-year-old Clynelish from Signatory Vintage, part of the 100 Proof series. And you can see it's from Refill Oloroso. 10 years old, 2016 vintage. Fantastic value, £50. And you can see from the colour of this is quite pale. And a lot of the stocks, I'm going back to the stocks from the 1990s now, that Signatory has, some of the Clynelish that I fell in love with, head over tail in love with, was almost all, in fact, all from my memory, all from Refill Sherry. So this is from Refill Oloroso, which is my preference. I'm going to use a sherry cask. It's my preference. More often than not exclusively so, that it's from a refill cask. So I'm going to get this open. Now this is already in our good books, isn't it? Because we've only paid £50 for this. So it's already treating us quite well. I'm going to pour it so that all the blind pours that go in the glass are going to be poured roughly to the same level. And what I want to talk about is the ceremony. I've just torn the foil off after paying my £50. I've uncorked it, sloshed it into the glass for the first time. I don't always want to taste my whiskies blind. I want to enjoy what I've purchased. I want to walk into the first taste of nose of this whiskey and have fun tasting the whiskey that I've bought. That's a huge part of whiskey participation and enjoyment. And blind tasting, you can still enjoy blind tasting without giving that ceremony side of it up. You can still enjoy that moment with your new bottles. You do not need to put every bottle that comes through the door on trial. But should you want to, it can be fun. Let's see if I can get this other camera working. So we've got our Clynelish Signatory here, and it's in the glass. Now, what am I going to pour this alongside? What's a good thing to go alongside this? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this one. So this one, just randomly, got some coloured dots right in the centre of the glass. So I can't tell by looking down. I don't know if you can see, probably not. There's an orange dot, but from that angle, you can see they're all going to just look white. And to keep myself right, I'm going to put an orange dot on the bottle. What am I going to pour this alongside? Well, I decided that I would try another Clynelish or two. So here I've got a vintage 2000 Sutherland from the Thompson brothers. The ABV is up there as well, 53.2 for this one. So that's not far away on ABV. We're trying to keep the profile vaguely similar. I'm doing something very, very tight, close-knit tonight. Just doing Clynelish against each other. But I'm just going to be putting the whiskey on test here. That's the first thing, is going to be putting the whiskey on test in this challenge. So I've got another one. I might not use this one because this is from a Rechar Hungarian oak. So we've got European oak here in this one. It's another Thompson Brothers. This is a 2013 vintage. So similar kind of age, not far away on age, 50.5% ABV. But I'm going to put that one off to the side because that European oak, that Hungarian oak, I think is going to be really quite dominant against these others. And I think what we might want to do is try and keep it a little bit tighter to put this wee Signatory on test. Here's another uncorking, which means I'm also putting a Watt whiskey bottle on test as well. This is an exclusive for Denmark, as it was turned out. I managed to buy this one when I was down in Campbelltown, actually. This is a 12-year-old Highland distillery, so it's unnamed Clynelish. We were told it was Clynelish. You know, they can't put it on the bottle sometimes, same as the Thompson Brothers one there. But I'm going to get this open as well. So this is another uncorking. And this is us putting these whiskies on test. Also, I think is critical. It should be obvious. The Glencairns that we're using are clear. These are blank Glencairns. They're not logoed Glencairns. I mean, you can probably turn a blind eye and not really spend much time focusing on it. And you could get away with it if you only have logoed Glencairns. You could maybe cover up the logos in some way. But this wee What Whiskey one is going to get a purple dot. I'm going to try and fill it up to the same level. Does that look the same to you? It's pretty close, isn't it? And then finally, we'll put a wee white dot. Now, I'm not testing myself here. We've got 3 Clynelish of a similar ABV in the glass, and all we're doing is testing the whiskey. That looks about the same, would you say? Yeah, that's good enough. And I've put a wee white dot on that, so we'll put a wee white dot on our bottle and off to the side. And then, and this is the crazy part, you don't need to think too much. You can just mix these up. Now, me looking in the camera, me not thinking about anything, already I have no clue what is what in this wee lineup. Remember, we're not testing me here. This is just me asking my new whiskey, or in this case, 2 new whiskies to match up. That Sutherland, by the way, I've been enjoying that very, very much. You can see the levels dropped quite a wee bit, and I've had a really nice time with it. It's quite a bit older, I have to say. This is a 19-year-old versus the 10-year-old from Signatory, and versus an old 12-year-old from What Whiskey. But the ABVs are more or less there. And although we've got refill sherry up against ex-bourbon, hopefully the casks aren't too dominant of any of these. This one is quiet on the nose. I suspect this is one of the ones that I've just opened. A wee nose of the second one. There's a wee bit more freshness to this, a wee bit more of a kind of white fruit tone. And this one, yeah, there's a wee bit of a distant, damp funk to this. There's a bit of age to this. Already, I think that this is potentially going to be the vintage 2000, so this should have a purple dot on it. I'll try not to look at anywhere close to the camera as I sip this, but you'll be able to see. Good, slightly funky, slightly farmy, slightly odd. A little bit of plasticine note type thing in there as well. There's an oiliness to this. You wouldn't say that it's too heavy on the wax. Spend a bit of time with it, you might get a wee bit of wax out of it, but there's more of a kind of oiliness here. This is a bit silage and farmy side coming through here. Overripe apple. This is coming across to me like it's the older one, but I shouldn't be thinking about that. I should be thinking just about the whiskey itself. How much I like it. Let's go into this middle one. It's much cleaner, younger, more fizz, more effervescence. This is all about, this is bourbon cask to me. Maybe a hoggy, fresh, bright, clean orchard, lovely fruit. And to me, there is a suggestion towards what we're always chasing, that kind of white candle wax thing and the kind of Crayola crayons thing in Clynelish. While I wouldn't say it's prevalent, I think there's a wee suggestion of it there. That means that our last one here, this is much quieter on the nose. So what I'm going to do is, just without looking at the base, I'm just going to completely cover the Glencairn with the liquid, just to cover the glass. And I hope that we can just get much more liquid to air. Yeah, red apple, darker, everything's darker here. There's much more autumnal tones, red fruit. And yet there is a wax here. Waxed fruit. Let's go with that. Rather than candle wax, rather than a box of Crayola crayons, let's go with waxed fruit. But it's waxed apple, waxed orchard rather than waxed citrus. Kind of slightly, it's opening up nicely. There's a kind of spiced note here, dry spices, cooking spices, kitchen spices, but the softer side of it, like the nutmegs and I wouldn't even go as far as cinnamon, not quite as sharp as cinnamon, but just warm, soft spices. Nutmeg's perfect. Maybe a wee touch of soft ginger, soft brown sugar. So you can see that I'm leaning into sherry tones here. This could be our signature vintage, our 100 proof. Let's have a wee taste. So now, that's lovely. It's lovely. It's drying on the finish. A little bit of tannin lick on the end. Not bad, not bad at all. There's a richness to this, a depth, a kind of base tone to things. So we've got 3 distillates in here, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 19-year-old, all from the same distillery, all in the 50s ABV, 50.5, 52.3, 57.1. And I think that it's not about me guessing which is which tonight. It's about me deciding which is going to be my favorite out of these 3. And I can tell right away, and you know where I'm coming from here, we don't have a favorite here. We really don't. I think this one is the What Whiskey. I think I paid 60 quid for it. It's gorgeous, objectively gorgeous. Slightly brighter and shinier. Oh, there's a wee, just talking to you, that kind of retronasal thing here. There's a mineralic thing came in there. Not quite to the edge of rock pools and salt or whatever, but kind of a pebbly. And I think that only comes out because I'm sipping it against that refill Oloroso cask. That dry, kind of mineralic, slightly chalky even. Almost like an Alka-Seltzer or you know the drill, right? Soluble tablet of some kind, that kind of minerality. And I think it's this one that's brought it out, the slightly darker, basier one. This is probably dull for you to watch, but I'm enjoying myself. Let's go back to our first one again. Oh, straight away, we've got those really kind of moody, mulchy things. It's almost like a treacle thing, like a dark treacle. Yeah, almost like you're a tool shed, a damp tool shed, something leaf mulch. Almost an old bottle effect suggestion. Completely different drams, completely different whiskies. It's going to be hard for me to pick a favourite, but if you were to twist my arm up my back tonight, and I think this is going to surprise everyone, I would put, let's put a wee camera on here. I would put this one first, the middle one, which I think could be the 12-year-old What Whiskey. Doesn't matter what I get, whether I get it right or not. And I'm going to put this one, which I think, and now that I look at it at this distance, I don't know if you can see there's a slight, this is just a touch darker, this one. Again, that backs up what I think that this is. This is potentially the signature vintage here. So this is the favourite one tonight is this one. I think it's a What Whiskey. Then signature vintage. And then our Thompson brothers in the lineup here. All fantastic indie bottlers doing fantastic things. They wouldn't bottle anything that they didn't love themselves. Would I pay 60 quid for this again? All day long. Objectively gorgeous whiskey for that money. Same here. £50 for the 10-year-old Clynelish. And I don't remember what this cost. I don't remember if I brought this back from Limburg or if I bought it locally, maybe up at the distillery. I've got no recollection now, other than I've been enjoying it. You see the level on the bottle. I've been getting it through it over its time. So now, let's see what the colours are on the bottom. I'm expecting this to be white. I'm expecting this one to be orange. And I'm expecting this one, my favourite, to be purple. Let's have a wee look. We'll look at it together. White. Okay. I have to say I'm not on test here. That was quite fairly easy. In orange, good, and purple. I think these are quite obvious, despite them being all the same distillery, despite them being similar strength. These are completely different. In fact, you could pour these blind for a friend and not tell them they were all from Clynelish. And I might suggest to you that they may struggle to guess that it's all from the same distillery. Maybe somebody with a much, much more seasoned or a better palate than mine might be able to do that. B. van der Gulik. I'm signing off. Have a great night, everyone. Love the theme and set up Agavite. Have a good one. Hope you can pick us up in the replay, buddy. Thanks for joining us tonight. PT Dram Craig is saying Agavite playing along with the Thompson Brothers Mystery Malt Clynelish. It's a perfect way to do it. And the 2022 official bottling special release Clynelish. Oh, wow. That's an interesting thing to do. Indie against official. You are dull, but you're our kind of dull, says Jimmy Legg. Well, I'll settle for that, Jimmy. David Lorenko is saying a new camera point of view, getting fancy. vPub at the BBC coming soon, lol. Hey, not quite. It's just a wee webcam. If it's working well, though, David, I'll be happy. PX Woodhouse is saying, far from dull to watch. You're going through different riffs on the same guitar. Delightful. Oh, I like the analogy. I don't know much about music, buddy, but I'll follow you on that. Anthony Lambert is saying, I shared the first drams of my virtual malt bottle with Scott's mate here in Germany without telling him what it was. He said it was the best dram he had in years. Big grins at the reveal. The feedback I got face-to-face in Leith about the virtual malt was wonderful. The feedback of the Glasgow bottling, fantastic. And the feedback on the Smogan, amazing. You're always nervous that the next project isn't going to land as successfully as the others. What people are learning, especially with the stuff that I love, is I love purity and getting as close to the spirit as possible. That's obvious. I don't think that's the case with virtual malt. But what I also like is density and intensity. And I love things being dialed up as much as they can. And I love it when that's fruit. I think one of the threads that's connected all of my releases together has been punchy fruit, and I think that continues. Despite the virtual malt being the only collaboration I've done with an independent bottler with Decadent Drinks, that was really strongly leaning towards sherry, whereas everything else was much more bourbon forward, much cleaner, much purer. But we still managed to get a ton of fruit across on that silky, lovely, gorgeous virtual malt. Anthony, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I'm glad you had a wee moment with a pal as well. It's great to get the feedback. David Owen is saying, not dull, Roy, otherwise I wouldn't be here enjoying a vPub. David, thank you very, very much. And it's nice to have you live, buddy. I know that you often have to pick up on the replay. Okay, let's go into... So we've put the whiskey on test now, haven't we? We've kind of decided, is the whiskey worth our money? Now, I've did 3 Clynelish there, but you can imagine maybe just coming along and doing something like introducing a new bottle that you have. Maybe you've got some anxiety of what you paid for it. Or maybe you got a bargain and you want to, is this really as good value as I think it is? So you put it up against some bigger hitters, some more expensive things. So often what we have fun doing is, sorry, I've already clicked that one, haven't I? Sorry, I'll click over. Is testing ourselves, testing our ability to appreciate the whiskey, to rank the whiskey, to put it in the context of the other whiskies that we already have. How much have we spent for that whiskey? How much do we trust our friends that they're giving us these kind of word of mouth recommendations and things like that. And we're sitting with this whiskey, parsing it in front of ourselves. Blind tasting is your friend in these scenarios, because you just sit back, you relax, and you just try and test yourself a little bit. Make the whiskey work, but also, what can I taste in this? What ABV am I getting here? How old does this taste? Now, you might know, as I was just chatting to you there, that one of these whiskies, you can't see it on camera. But this one here in this glass, the Signatory Vintage from the refill Oloroso is, to my eye, not on the camera, but to my eye, is a nudge darker. You can't see it, obviously, but you look at it from certain angles and certain light, and you can see that just one of them is just maybe 1 or 2 notches on the color chart a wee bit darker. And that helps you a little bit, but it also misleads you. And I'm not talking about adding neat caramel color or anything like that. It's a big deal. Dark whiskey sells, and it is abused. Caramel coloring is abused in that scenario. But these are all natural whiskies that we're going to be sipping tonight. You will taste darker things in darker whiskies. You will give darker tasting notes when you sip darker whiskies. You will even nose darker things, basier things, deeper things, richer things. We all do it. We nose, we taste, we think with our eyes. So here's what's up next. Here's how we take away strip away as much as possible. Here we have, and you know what I'm going to bring up on screen now, here we have 3 blue glasses. Now, I know you can get black Glencairns, you can get gold Glencairns, I think you can get white ones now and all sorts of nonsense, limited edition things. But these are probably the originals, and they follow on from the blue-coloured, dark blue copitas that people might use when they're blind tasting various things. It doesn't just need to be whiskey, single malt Scotch, whatever. It can be loads and loads and loads of things. But that's the idea behind these. It's not to look cool. It's to remove the colour from the equation. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put myself on test a wee bit. The peat blindness thing is going to come in here. The cask influence is going to come in here when I'm testing myself. But I'm also still in a hybrid scenario where I'm going to be testing the whiskey too. What's going to go into these glasses? Well, I'm going to put 2 Ardnamurchans up against each other. 2 fairly sweet wines or fortified wines up against each other. I'm going to test the Ardnamurchan Sauterne, the unpeated version, against the Madeira cask peated version. For me, the Madeira cask, the new Madeira cask, I don't know how much peat it had in it, but I know it had peated casks. So there is a decent chunk of peat in this Madeira. And I suffer from peat blindness. Certainly I do this week because I've been sipping a lot of cask strength whiskies and a lot of peaty ones too. So we'll see how we are tonight. It didn't help that we're going on holiday, of course. There's no vPub next week, as I've told you. So we're running down the cupboards and we had takeaway tonight. And I didn't think forward, and I got Chinese curry for my dinner tonight. So I'm not making excuses, but I'm telling you why I'm a wee bit anxious. Usually when I'm in front of you, I suffer from peat blindness, as you know. I suffer from peat blindness in the club and everywhere. But it's nice to be drinking recently with lots of other people who often have the same issue. But obviously I'm also drinking with people who are much better and get peat from 100 miles away too. Anyway, I've got these 2 Ardnamurchans. But what I'm going to taste it alongside is another kind of fortified wine. I think it's fortified wine. It might not be, actually. I might be talking nonsense. I don't think this is fortified, actually. This is a brand new release from Deanston. Now, I was going to buy a bottle of this, but I'm a bit poor after all the money I spent in Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago. So I need to wait for finances to recover. But this came out just last week, £95. for a 17-year-old cast strength limited edition Deanston. Now that might seem expensive, but I have to tell you that's a huge chunk cheaper than any mature Deanstons that's come out in recent years. £95 for a 17-year-old limited edition. I don't think it's cheap enough yet, but it's getting cheaper. I think it's another measure of whiskey coming back to us. Anyway, I'm going to pour some of the Deanston into a blue glass. I'm just going to pour half of it in there. Yeah, that looks... And I'll try and fill them all to the same level. But of course, I need to put a wee sticker on this. Seems obvious to put an orange on the orange wine, right? Make sure we get it right in the middle. Orange underneath. I'll put a wee orange sticker on the top of the sample just to keep us right. That means that white is going to go on the Sauterne. Only doing this so that I can try and get the levels about the same. I don't want to know anything. And then finally, our purple dot can go on our Madeira pour. Now, I know a lot of you would be saying, well, you could have had this all poured and ready beforehand, but yeah. That needs a wee bit more in it. It's a bit of a light pour. Okay, good. So now we bring it up and we do the exact same thing. Now again, I have never tried these things before. So there's two things happening here. Can I pick up the peat in one of these? I have no idea which one it is. Can I pick up what is Sauterne? And can I pick up what is wine cask? Let's have a wee try. David is saying, we tell the story often how we three were having Balblair 15 blind in those dark glasses. Not one got much sherry. Then after the reveal, we switched to clear glasses and it tasted like decadent sherry. We taste with our eyes, don't we, David? Bowman is saying, peat blindness is in a blind tasting. I see what you did there, Roy. Peat blindness, peat blight, however you want to refer to it. Just being stupid and a bit rubbish is probably the better way to describe it, buddy. Jalpin is in. I know I'm not confident pronouncing your name, Jalpin, but it's nice to have you back again. Neither orange wine nor Sauterne are fortified wines. Of course, Sauterne isn't fortified either, of course. And orange wine is not from oranges. Orange wine is uses skin and seeds and is part of the fermentation process, so it can be a little funky and a little bit out there. It could be a little bit of a challenging wine. I don't know how much the wine we're going to taste on the Deanston. Whiskey Novice is saying, do you remember a few years ago when we were talking about Deanston Aquavitae, Roy? Not so much now. I know, and I wonder how much of it's got to do with, look, the core range is fantastic. Virgin Oak 12-year-old, the wonderful value of their 18-year-old. But see all the special stuff, the nice stuff, especially distillery exclusives, and Tobermory was just as bad for this. Bunnahabhain was by far the worst. The money that they were asking for those specials were just like, whoa, it's just like, what are you doing? I don't understand what this is. They forced us into 20 CL bottles for a while, but even then we realised, no, it's not what we want to do. Why has everything got so expensive? So it's going to be interesting to see, Jim, if it comes back to this a little bit. I toured Deanston with the Scotch for Dummies boys, and we had a wonderful time. It was great to go around the distillery. Deanston has given me so many immaculate whiskey moments over the years that I still love it. But I think you're right, Jim. With so much choice, so much other things to talk about, Deanston has struggled to command some of that spotlight attention that it did a few years back. DJ Farrell's bought me a dram. Thank you, buddy. Justin, looking forward to catching up in the replay. Thank you, Dan. And thank you for buying me a wee dram while you do so. Cheers. Another dram in from Highland Hamish, my pal Highland Hamish. How are you doing, Hamish? He's saying, love the Clynelish deep dive. Only just learnt Clynelish was founded by the Duke of Sutherland. Yes, I know sometimes it's perhaps not advantageous to read into the history of these things, right? Infamous figure of the Highland clearances, of course, Hamish. Aye, it's been through a few hands since then. Yalpin is saying the concentrated sweetness in Sauterne comes from the botrytis cinerea, noble rot that causes the grapes to shrivel and essentially turn to raisins still on the vine. It's nice to have the knowledge in the chat. Hang out a bit longer, won't you? Rob Halford is saying, are Deanston still doing the banded pricing for the distillery bottles? Last I went, it was all fixed based on age, and the prices were brilliant. I have to say, I didn't leave there with a bitter taste in my mouth from the last tour, but a couple of years back, and it was difficult because the stuff that I wanted to pick up was priced out of reach, and I felt that prices were maybe a touch greedy, especially for the delicious stuff in the warehouse tour that you wanted to try. They wanted to buy and take home. It was just the price still a little bit out of reach. I think it's coming back to us. We'll wait and see, Rob. Adrian is here. Good to see Adrian. He's saying there's been some great indie Deanston over the last wee while too. Aye, fantastic. The indies will bring it always. Toby is saying, but isn't this type of orange wine aromatized orange peel wine from Seville and not the skin macerated white wine style? No, the Deanston project, the orange wine Deanston, is skin. It's orange wine in the traditional sense. So this is skin on, seeds, fermented with more than just the grape flesh. Again, I'm also saying, even though late one home from work, it feels like your work yonks since the last vPub. Howdy, Roy. Perhaps some smogan in the glass this evening. Yum. There will be some smogan, and smogan will be put on a blind taste challenge tonight. I don't know how smart that is, but I'm going to try it, buddy. I'm going to try it. Palate's not brilliant tonight. I think it's doing okay. I think I could have chosen my meal better. A baked potato would have been a bit better than a Chinese curry, right? It is what it is. Okay, first up. Okay. I'm going to do what you should always do at blind tastings. Do a kind of instinctive first pass. I know what I got from that. and now I'm sitting here thinking, when's the peak going to kick in, right? One more pass. I need a break, right? Finally. Peat. Because I'm searching for peat, because I'm panicked about the Madeira. It's the second batch. It's the second batch of Ardnamurchan Madeira, which I think is the peated one. So I'm searching for peat, and I can find peat on all three of these when there is no peat on all three of these. So let's do a wee. What the wonderful thing about Ardnamurchan, it's got the QR code on the back, so I can do a wee camera. Hope this works. Maturation. What am I pouring it against? Sorry about the dead air. Here we go. See the cast data for this. I need to save it. Save to files. Open. Unpeated, 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 unpeated. Oh no, okay. If you scroll down, we get into bourbon and Madeira peated barrels as well. American Standard barrels. So I am right. Batch 2 Madeira has some peat. So when I picked up the first glass, I said, I know what I'm getting on that. I got peat. But then I went into the second two, and I got, that's not peated. Damn. Let's just coat the glass. Again, I don't want to. Surely this is our peated whiskey. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's got to be it. It's got to be it. Anyway, we're just going on flavor. We're trying not to, it's me. I'm putting pressure on myself here. Whatever, that's the first dram is Smackdown, gorgeous, delicious. Fantastic mix of flavor and spirit here, cask and spirit. Fantastic. I feel strongly that this is our Madeira, but sipping it from this blue glass is reassuring me just how it's just delicious. I want to taste it again, but I've got another two to taste. Here we go. Oh, this goes in a different direction. This is a sweet thing. This does taste of oranges as well. I've just told you I'm not looking for oranges here tonight. I'm not, because orange wine is the name of the color of the wine that's produced from this process rather than the ingredient. But that tastes of sweet citrus. I would even go as far to say some satsuma in there, a little bit of citrus pith and rind as well. A little bit of a kind of it's not savory, but it's almost like an umami. Yeah, something just ever so slightly right of odd, but it's nice. It's really nice. I think this. I'm feeling like that could be our Deanston. Let's have a wee nose of the last one and a taste of the last one. No peat in that middle one, by the way. I'm just going to switch the camera off for a little bit. Oh dear. That last one is lovely and sweet, but it feels like a very close neighbor of the middle one, where I was hoping that it would feel like a very close neighbor of the first one. Oh dear. I don't know why I'm putting myself under pressure here. We're in the blue glasses. This is stripped back. This is just I should just be talking to you about what I think about these whiskies. But of course, what I'm trying to do here with the blue glasses is to take out as much as I can, to learn as much as I can about the whiskey. I can't see the color of the whiskey. I can't. I can only go on texture, nose, flavor. Let's go with ABVs are similar as well in all of these. The Ardnamurchan Sauterne is 50. I think the Madeira is 50 as well. 52. And the Deanston orange wine is a wee bit higher. I think it's at cask strength, 53.6. 50, 52, 53.6. So we can't even, it's one of the tips in a blind challenge is to use ABV to guide you a little bit if you're struggling, if you're competing in it, right? But these are very, very close as well. One more. Oh, come on. This is our smoky peaty one. This is the peaty one. It's got more. It's got sandalwood. It's got wood spice. It's got an outdoor thing going on. It's got smoke. It's got peat. It's got base notes from peat. It's got slightly savoury edge. It doesn't have much of the Ardnamurchan minerality in there, but I think that's the Madeira cask. Gorgeous though. The one I want to go back to is this first pour, this first glass. Here we have this concentrated orange, almost like orange syrup again. Wee bit of light golden sugar, lots of sweetness on this. And do you know what the oddness is when I was talking about umami, nosing it now? There's a wee bit of kind of distant marker pen, dry white pen, something like that. It's just a wee bit slightly odd. Sipping it in comparison with the other two, of course. Delicious, easy, sweet whiskey. Whatever that one is, it's in the early 50s ABV, but it's sipping like 46% ABV. There's almost no alcohol heat or burn from that dram at all. Incredible. And finally, I need to commit. Listen, you'll still come back and watch next week, or there's no vPub next week, the week after, if I make a complete backside of myself here, right? This is, the last one is very grapey. So, you know, it's very close to the middle one as well. So that could be the Sauterne and orange wine thing. Oh, it's excellent. These are all objectively excellent whiskies, tasty whiskies. I think the one I'm drawn to go back to is the first one. And this is definitely peat. This is peated. It's got to be. Sometimes you can confuse peat with, sometimes you can get really high punchy alcohol, some savoury notes, lots of other things. Some people might confuse it with barrel char and other things, but this is very, very specific. This is smoke peat I'm talking about. But it's soft. So I need this to be purple. But I think what you want to hear from me is what's my favourite here tonight. Really difficult. Two very, very sweet whiskies that are very close neighbours, but I suspect these are from different distilleries. One of these is a Deanston and one of these is a Ardnamurchan. Yeah. And I feel stupidly confident about which is which. And I think this is the Ardnamurchan Madeira. It's interesting to me how the Deanston and Ardnamurchan, if I'm correct, are closer. So this has to be purple. Oh, thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. And this one I think is, this is the Deanston orange wine, which is orange. And this one is going to therefore be white. White and orange. I was lucky. I have to say these two are much closer than the two Ardnamurchans in the category and style of whiskey that they are. And I suppose that makes sense. It was Yelpin that said that they were both not fortified, right? It's okay. So wee bit of panic, but scraped through that one there. Listen, why are we in blue glasses here? It's to kind of strip that thing away. So if you're going to be led by darker colours, by sherry casks, super active bourbon cask, whatever it may be, versus a lighter cask, rather than tasting with your eyes, the blue glasses gives you the ability to taste just on your wits and wits alone. The takeaway from there is that was a wee bit stressful. I thought that would be fairly, I thought I wasn't setting myself up too badly there, but I did give myself a wee bit of a fright. Listen, see if you do suffer from peat blindness. I can suggest this to you. You suffer from peat blindness because you've been drinking whiskey for quite a while. You suffer from it because you like peaty whiskies, or you've spent a significant chunk of your whiskey journey really loving peaty whiskies to the point that your brain just starts to smell past it, taste past it, whatever. It's very, very easy for your brain to cancel it out. And the only way around it, the only way to fix that, and I suppose it happens with more than just peat, you know, sulfur, really rich notes, springbank funk. If you list springbank whiskies and you maybe start to not taste that funk so much, the only way around it is to give yourself a break and to stop and then go back again. I think there's actually a huge advantage if somebody's just into whiskey a couple of years and they're just working their way through it and they're working in quite big, round, general kind of buckets in the funnel system of flavor. I think there is a slight advantage for people early on, in my experience. I think when you've been sipping so much whiskies, you've tasted so many things, and the complexity is so deep that it becomes sometimes challenging because you start to second guess and you flash all over the flavor map. It can be tricky. Another generous drams come in here from, is that from Tom Rhodes? Is that from the Tom Rhodes? He's saying, I'm happy the Dummies got the samples to you. Cheers, friend. It is Tom. Back when I started out on YouTube way back 9 years ago, there was a man around the community, Tom Rhodes, and he was in all the live streams I was in, but we were in as fellow viewers. It was before I created any content. And when I started to create content, he stepped up to support me, and it was one of the most heartwarming, encouraging compliments that anybody could pay for me. The fact that he's still around here, the fact that he thought of me and ferried samples, wonderful, wonderful samples to me through the Scotch for Dummies to get it to me is just heartwarming and touching in a way that's difficult to express. Tom, you're a superstar, my friend. It's nice to have you around. I know I've bumped into you in other communities out there on YouTube. It's nice to have you in here tonight, buddy. Cheers, Tom. Thank you for your generosity once more. All right. How are we getting on for time? 1 hour 27. We're not doing too bad. But we're going to build up to where we're mixing things a little bit, where we are being playful. We're testing the whiskey. We're testing ourselves. We're kind of taking this blind tasting thing and putting it right dead in the center of our whiskey exploration. We're trying to learn from it. We're trying to learn where the value is. We're trying to learn a better ways to describe whiskey, to articulate whiskey, to interrogate whiskey. We're trying to put blind tasting right at the center of whiskey enjoyment. And yet, never get too distracted by the fact that we're overanalyzing, and keep it fun. So we gamify things. We sit with friends and we pour blind pours for each other. If you come to Glasgow and you're drinking drams with me and we're going and buying rounds, the chances are you're going to get sent to the bar to do the same thing that I've just done with the last round. Buy a dram, everyone's drinking the same, and nobody knows what it is except for whoever purchased it. And we play, is it a Speyside? We just play a game, you know, to try and work out what we're sipping. It's great fun. It's meant to be fun. The gamification of it encourages us to enjoy whiskey more. I'm going to show you something here. This is that I got from the Scotch for Dummies. I believe this to be a prototype. You'll have seen it in the background tonight, but if I add this, I'm going to go full screen on this just for a second. This has been sitting in the background a bit. It's been sitting over here. I don't know if this is one of one, but I know that it's a prototype. This is 3D printed. And this is where the Scotch for Dummies, and you can see, if I take the lid off here, you can see their logo front and center here. Drink honestly, spin boldly. This is the dram wheel. So what we have here, this is just the lid for it, but what we have here is a manifestation of gamified blind tasting. And I'm going to try it tonight. I'm going to try it with you tonight. I've not tried this before. There's cups here that fit a Glencairn comfortably. and we have 3 of them. So let's pop the 3 Glencairns in for now. These are 3 clean blank Glencairns as well. And they go. And there's 3. But I can tell if I move this a wee bit and this a wee bit, it fits in snugly. And here, so you're going to be able to upgrade to a 4 blind flight. But I've only got 3 cups in this particular set, so we'll be doing 3 tonight. And you can see that it's on a foot, and that allows it to comfortably spin around like this. So you see that I've been shuffling the whiskies tonight. Well, some people might figure out that they I don't know, they can keep track with it as they shuffle. I can't. But this completely removes it. So what am I going to put in this dram wheel, this blind gamified manifestation this evening? By the way, thanks to the Scotch for Dummies for gifting this to me. It's just amazing. Let's remove this for now, and I'll get some drams in there. The first thing I'm going to put in there is my very own whiskey. I'm going to put the Smogan in the glass. This has gone down very, very well. It's a very dense spirit, very concentrated liquid. You need to give this respect and time. You need to let this lead you. Now, we don't need to put coloured dots on the Glencairns for this. I'm just going to be mindful of how much I've filled the glass. And then I'm going to just drop it in. But before I lose track, sorry, I should show you. Before I lose track here, I've got tags that I've pre-written. I've got Smogan, I've got Dornoch, I've got Springbank, and I've got Daftmill, and I'll explain that to you in a second. But we need to put Smogan. There's a wee slot on the side here for you to put tabs in, and for you to keep note of the whiskies that you are. So that's the Smogan. And in this glass, I've suggested Dornoch here, but I opened with the Dornoch tonight, and I think the Dornoch is just a little bit too maybe obvious. What I'm trying to do is keep things quite tight. Now, if anybody asks me, Roy, I can't get a hold of Smogan, what does Smogan taste like? Give me something else that's close to it. It's very, very difficult. But this is a different kind of Smogan. This is actually their Askeim spirit, which is floor malted, golden promise, lightly peated, 10-year-old whiskey. It's got all the density and concentrated flavour of Smogan, but it doesn't have that really, really rich, extreme, get out your knife and fork type experience to it. There's an elegance to this, and there's a huge pop and punch of fruit to this as well. So you do have a chance of getting something closer to this. Hence why I pulled out the Dornoch tonight. And I think the other whiskies that I'm going to pour alongside this is going to complement the Smogan significantly based on where I frame it. But I'm also going to use a Daftmill. Now, the Smogan is 55% ABV. I've got a 56.3% Daftmill, but this is 5 years older. This is quite a wee bit older. So I'm going to, So in the next glass, I'm going to try and pour it to roughly the same level. That's a little bit the same. And I'll take the Daftmill sticker, drop it in. And then finally, we're talking about dense spirits. We're talking about 50% ABV. I'm actually going to use a 5-year-old product. This is the new batch of the 5-year-old Springbank. The reason that I'm using this is I think this particular batch, this particular whiskey, drinks far older than 5 years old, and it's got lots of that density and kind of almost extreme element to its flavour profile. So finally, we'll slot our Springer in there. Now, the interesting thing about this is that because of the spinny nature of this, you know, you're not worrying about having to lose track of whatever you're pouring. Because you put it in here, it's completely blacked out. You've got no idea what you've got in front of you. Let's just put this in full screen. And what I can do now is just spin and spin and spin and spin till my heart's content, right? And obviously, there isn't a kind of locking mechanism here, so it's not necessarily clicking to the base, it's spinning freely of the base, if that makes sense as well. So you really lose all idea of what is where. And then what you do is you gamify things. You test the whiskey, of course, and you test yourself. Sorry about the noise. I think this is 3D printed. I don't know what the boys' plan is with this, whether they intend to make lots of these and sell them. I think it's a fun stunt. I think it's a great kind of gamification of whiskey enjoyment. You could sit with your pals and you could just be, you know, drinking whiskey and playing blind, daft, silly blind games with everybody and just, you know, having the best of times, just making a fool of yourself, but all the while enjoying the whiskey. I'm going to get into this in a second. This is dangerous. I wonder, I've been looking out for Per Calden, mate, see if he's in tonight. I hope I don't let the man down. I like this fun game, Roy says. Ben Demon Hunter, so good to have you. And Ben, how's things in Canada, buddy? Nice to welcome you. Jimmy Legacy and Aquavita, I don't think you've ever allowed me to buy you a thing. You buy me things all the time. Are you kidding, Jimmy? You're one of my, you support me so well. Whiskey Weekend Drama saying, if you spin it quickly enough, you can age whiskey in it, Aquavita. Cheers, Harrow. Nice to see you, buddy. Very good stuff, says Cesare. Jimmy's saying, wearing the proper watch tonight, I see. My Apple Watch battery doesn't last a day these days, Jimmy. I think you'll see me wearing proper watches more often on the vPub. Graham Fraser is in. Good to see you, big guy, saying better a glass spinner than a head spinner. That's right, buddy. Jim is saying, it's why we didn't make it to your tasting on Sunday last week, Aquavita. Us Hallies were playing Guess the Dram in the Ensign year. It was some crack, right enough. Brilliant, buddy. I know you had a blast. And Yapin is saying, you try that with enough drams, it helps spin your head too. Duder Court. Mike is here. Good to see you, buddy. Well, now I know what to expect the next time I come to Keith's. Whiskey roulette sounds like a good night. Yeah, I like the way you think, buddy. Well, the wheel's here for us to play with, right? Andy Hills is saying, both pulling an early parachute. I didn't even spot you in here earlier tonight. I hope you're feeling okay. I hope you've recovered. He's saying, work the remnants of the Leith Lurgy, not helping. Catch the rest on replay. Cheers, Roy. Enjoy your wee break. Sorry to hear you've been poorly, Andy. All the best to you and Helen. Steve A is in. Good to see you, buddy. It is 3D printed, and they are planning on ramping up production to be able to sell. So I'm doing a wee kind of sales pitch for you all tonight. I was just really touched when the guys gave this to me, and the most basic of instructions too. I think they just assumed that I would know exactly what to do, and I think I'm using it right. David is saying, shout out for an amazing collab with a great first fill whiskey. I was left wondering how many drams I would need to start rolling my R's like that. Lol, great stuff. Thank you to Phil. The man is a wizard at putting together content to make it very easy to watch, even when it's me that's on there. So he's just put out a pronunciation video. It just dropped in the last few days. I'm sure you've seen it already, but just type in First Fill Whiskey, go along, and you'll see him and I having a great session together talking about pronunciation. Great fun. Thanks for watching it, David. Dudercourt is saying, a neat name for a pot luck of whiskies. You can bring an expensive whiskey. I'll bring something more affordable and we can see who gets lucky. You're a chancer, Mike. Let's try it. Paul Gids is saying, my dalliances with the heart cut has warmed me to the prospect of lobbing out 80 quid for a 50 CL Smogan. Paul, I know that the 50 CL thing is going to put you and a lot of people off potentially. We need to remember that Smogan is so small that it makes Daphmil look like a factory, right? Okay, that's not fair. Daphmil is part-time seasonally. Smogan is part-time because the man has a profession and he distills part-time. If he fills, on the days that he's filling casks, he fills half a cask. It's tiny. The output is tiny. Now, if you consider the heritage grain stuff, the Golden Promise, for example, that I've got, floor malted barley, the slightly different take on smoking, as in it's lightly peated, and also the fact for it to be hanging around long enough to get to 10 years. It is super, super rare. There were 8 casks in existence, and we got to take 3 to make this fatting. It's over 500 bottles. You can buy one, Paul. If you like it, you want to buy a backup, you're welcome. There's no guilt in buying. A lot of people don't buy a backup of an Aqua Vitae bottling because they feel like they're keeping it away from someone else. We've changed tact for some of the releases, Paul. So please let me know what you think. Anyway, let's get tore into these. But you want one more spin just for just for good luck? Okay. Eeny, meeny, miny. Let's go with this one. Okay. So I suppose I could pick up the cup and I could literally just, well, it might slide out the cup, I don't know. But now, as long as I take one and replace one, I've got a scenario where I don't need to worry about the kind of coloured dot or whatever, or catching a glimpse of it. I can just go in. And this is already a delicious whiskey. I'm very, very happy. I'm not going to say anything bad about any of these in case I get it wrong, right? But let's try and be as honest as I can. It literally says on the front of the thing, spin boldly, drink honestly. Okay, let's have a wee sip. I mean, this is dense. This spirit is also a dense spirit. A wee bit funky here. This could be our Springer. But there's also an elegance and a poise to this. There's a wee edge here too. Let's have a sip. If this is a smoking, I'm very happy. I'm also looking for, there's a slight salty edge on the smoking for me, but there's a butteriness here, a density, lovely fruit, elegance, poise, balance, structure. It's firm, tight, concentrated. Excellent whiskey. I'm scared to say it, but I'll say it because you always have to go with first instinct, first pass, that type of thing. There's a possibility, there's just a hint of an edge, of an angularity to this. Let's see what we've got here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so they're immediately... I need to slow down. But I'm going to lock that thought in because first pass is always very, very helpful, suggestive. There's a funkiness to this, but it's a different kind of fun. It's like an elegant, floral, ever so slightly lactic funk. Huge amount of that on the palate, but also what you've got is this is still dense and intense, but there's an elegance to this, and there's also a betrayal of maturity here, age, and on the finish, that slightly lactic edge comes in again. It was there on the arrival, it's there on the finish. This has to be our Daft Mill. Now, I think that the first one I sipped was the Springbank, which would mean that this is our smoking, right? I might be picking a hill to die on here. I've just released this whiskey. I don't know why I'm doing this in front of you all. These are much closer than you might imagine. In terms of a profile, if you were to plot these on a flavour map, these would be very, very close neighbours. Because the flavour map, if we talk about kind of delicate to smoky, if we talk about light to rich, where you're going to put these They're all going to be fairly close neighbours. But there's a fireside quality to this. If this is the Smogan, I'm picking out a new note tonight, which is like almost like a toasted. It may be actually like a popcorn type note. Wonderful, dense, rich, overripe fruits. Stone fruit. Minerality again. I need to sip. Beautiful, tight, concentrated, dense. What's crazy here is that these whiskies don't lose out a lot to each other. They're all very, very modern takes on craft whiskey. I want to make sense here. I want to make sense. The Dornoch is the same. I could have put the Dornoch in the mix here. There's a style to modern craft made whiskey that focuses on ingredients, that focuses on taking time, slowing down, exaggerating fermentation, slowing down the distillation, being very, very careful about condensation and maturation and all of these things. And it's on display here. Intensely, richly flavored, yet still delicate spirits. Right, I'm just going to go. I feel very confident about this. And it makes me very, very happy about this whiskey as well. I'm saying this whiskey, that has to be the Smogan, it has to be. Okay, I'm going with it. Let's, no, I'll keep my face on screen as well. You can see what I'm going to pull out here. I think this is the Smogan. Oh, we can't turn it around. Lift it up to turn it around. I think this is the Smogan. I think this is our Daft Mill. And I think this, by process of elimination, this is Springbank. It's obviously Springbank. Okay, Daft Mill. Huge relief. This just has to say Springbank. And this has to say fantastic. Relief. You can relax. You've been able to relax regardless. Fantastic concept, fantastic playfulness, fantastic spectacle of blind tasting whiskey. I don't know how much it would appeal to somebody just coming in, but people that are in and people that are wanting to uncover whiskey and taste it blind for the first time. These in the glass were really quite different. I think 9.5 times out of 10, I'm going to get these three correct. But they were also much, much closer on the flavor map than I expected. More importantly, and this is the cool thing, is that the quality of these are so close together. Daft Mill. Springbank, which means this must be the Smogan. Listen, I don't know how much fun this was to watch me sitting here blind tasting tonight, but I've had a heightened sense of adrenaline all night. I've had an edge and a nervousness and a concern and a worry that I don't know how to taste whiskey, that I don't have the skill set, that I don't have the experience, that I haven't learned the lessons over the years. I stood up with David Sturck in front of a room of 108 people seating on the Friday night before the Independent Spirits Festival. And David picked 6 whiskies, and he gave me no glimpse of what they were, no hint, nothing. I didn't ask or approach him or try to sneak anything. But it was semi-blind. It was slightly different. It wasn't fully blind because he had given us a list of 12 whiskies to pick from, and I picked 2 of them. The reason that I'm saying it is because it was more than picking from that limited list in a semi-blind fashion. The Bladnik that I picked, I would have picked from no list. I felt like I was sipping Bladnik. And I also, if I had to pick one when I was sipping the Arran, if I had to pick one distillery, I was going to pick Arran because of the oranginess. So the lactic on the Bladnik and the oranginess on the Arran. Now, I was right 2 out of 6 whiskies. I was very, very happy, right? I was nowhere close on all the others, but that's okay. My point is that you should be able to find yourself in company that it's absolutely okay to articulate and vocalize and talk about what you're tasting and just throw darts and guess. And sometimes you'll feel like you don't just want to throw a random dart, you want to aim for something specifically. You'll feel very, very confident, and that's okay too. But it's not always going to feel like that. We should be doing with blind tasting is using it to build our vocabulary, build our flavor memory banks, go in there without preconceived ideas, go in there without worrying about how much we've spent on a bottle of whiskey. Sometimes what we spend is not about how it tastes. Sometimes what we spend is about how rare the liquid is, of course. Blind tasting, gamification, jeopardy, fun, the possibility that you might end up with a red face, but also that marvelous possibility that you might be able to kind of, I don't know, cheer, fist, air, I don't know, celebrate loudly, celebrate in a very obnoxious way if you have to, but just enjoy it. And know that not everyone is good at this. It's more than that. Very few people are good at this. I'm not one of them. I've met some people that are good at it, and they are humble, and they are quiet, and they are not they know that the next blind tasting that they sit down in front of might be the one that takes their trousers down. It's just fun. We are saving no lives. We are finding no solutions. We are just enjoying whiskey. But it's about flavor. And if you can start to discern what those flavors are, if you can label them, if you can identify them, if you can share them, if you can lead somebody else into doing the same, that is very, very, very appealing. Again, I'm always saying, got 2, now it's public, we'll buy 2 more. Cheers, Roy and everyone at work, so we'll watch this tomorrow. Tim, Donner Pass Whiskey, just come in to say hello, buddy. I hope you're not working too hard now that you're picking up the replay, buddy. Nice to have you. Cesare's saying, Roy, like in spin while you are. Black Fen is saying, typical aquavite, attempting to identify unique taste notes in an unpeated daft mill without mentioning the other 2 drams are very obviously peated. Typical aquavite, typical peat blind aquavite too, might I say. I have to be honest with you, I wasn't using peat. Springbank had peat in it, of course. Smogan is peated. I wasn't using peat. I went for the Dornoch is probably likely to be lightly peated as well. You're right, Conrad. Maybe I could have used the Dornoch in there to add a wee bit more. Is that typical of me? I'm mildly offended, big guy. Odderty is saying, who, I don't know, there's no more. Here it is. Who knew blind tasting could be so tense? Well, it's only tense, I think, if you're if you're on the hook for it, right? Cesare saying blind tasting whiskey for this time. Are you blind tasting at home right now, Cesare? Are you doing it along with us? Jimmy Jazz is saying no memory of the 3 Loch Lomonds aboard. Picking favourite, the Aquavite Loch Lomond 14, the Glengarry 13, and then your Loch Lomond 12. That's exactly the opposite way I was going to. Well, let's say, I don't know about your Glengarry, but I was going to suggest you would prefer the 12 over the 14. The 14 is softer, more subtle, needs a bit more time. The 12-year-old is very obviously sparkly and fizzy and fruity. But the 14 was from refill, you'll remember, whereas the 12 was from first fill. Molasses Mike is saying this tasting only grew my vocabulary of swear words. So you're doing it along with me normally. Yeah, a lot of people met me in real life for the first time over the last few weeks and realised that I don't swear or curse live online. I don't think there's any need for it, and I don't need to do it. I think it's the right thing to do to not swear, but I'm Glaswegian and I swear freely in real life. I hope I swear appropriately, probably not. But a lot of people, I could detect that they were surprised at my language. So there you go, Mike. I hope that you enjoy the occasional frustrated cuss as well. Ginger Genius John is saying, it's really good for you to say it's difficult. Imagine how it is for us mere mortals. But that's the thing, John. I've always, I think the reason I'm so curious about it is because I want to get to a point where I no longer feel like a mere mortal. Everyone is saying, Chris, good to see you, buddy. And sorry, Jimmy Legg is celebrating being a member of the Barflies also for 73 months tonight. Angie says, hi, can't wait till November. Well, you can enjoy November as much as you like. You can look forward to November as much as you like, but you have to make sure you bring Angie. Hi, right back to Angie. Cheers to you both. Everyone, Chris is saying, blind tasting is superpower. We need a good origin story. Perhaps you were trapped in a Dunwich warehouse and bitten by a drunk spider. I have to say, there are people out there that I drink with regularly. Arnie, Doodle the Dram, has an amazing palate. I hope he never loses that. Hope it never gets crowded out or confused. Cousin Kevin, an amazing palate. Fantastic. Ben, Whiskey Geek Ben, is already been mentioned tonight, an amazing palate. And there's a few at the Whiskey Club who have amazing palates too. Ian Petrie has an amazing palate. Paul McKendrick of Lady of the Glen has an amazing palate. There's Roddy has an amazing palate. There's lots of people that I like to sit with and just pick up what they are getting. And I always feel like, ooh, maybe I'll get there. Maybe I'll get there one day. Black Fennis saying, I was having a joke about your peat blindness, not your excellent choice of whiskies. It's all good, big man. Oh, sorry if I came, Conrad, sorry if I came across as offended. I was slightly aware of it at the time. I'm not, buddy. We need to meet. We need to hang out and have a dram. Jimmy Legg is saying, real life Roy is even better than Aquavite. Well, we all know that's not true, Jimmy. And 6 years, 3 weeks till Limburg. Celebrating being a member for 72 months since 6 years, says James Greenamalt. Thank you very much for your support, buddy. I'm excited that you're going to Limburg again. Fantastic. So there we have it. Why do we blind taste? Why are we rubbish at it? Why are we great at it? We're rubbish at it because we're trying to define a spirit that is deliberately made to be as varied as possible. And I'm not just talking about varied over the regions, varied over the whiskey producing countries. I'm speaking about an individual distillery, an individual single whiskey maker will try and make his whiskey as flavor rich as possible and as varied as possible. Whether it's starting off with an unpeated campaign and then moving on to a lightly peated campaign and then finishing on a heavily peated campaign before they strip and do a clean and all that type of thing. And all the while they'll take those spirits, and some of them will have used heritage grains, some of them will have used various different types of yeast or whatever it may be, and then they'll carefully mature them in different casks. That's one individual, one distillery, one location. The idea that we can pick these things up and, oh, I'm getting some Chardonnay yeast in this one. I'm getting some This is quite clearly a first fill bourbon. It's not refill bourbon, and just kind of it's almost nonsensical. And if we're aiming for that, I think it's folly. I think we should just always keep it fun, fun, fun first. But the biggest thing for me, and this is the takeaway for it all, every one of us, even me, we are brilliant at blind tasting. We're amazing at it, because the only thing we should really be doing or caring about with blind whiskey is not how much we get right, but how much we connect with the whiskies. We taste those whiskies blind. We reassure ourselves that we love them. We reveal to ourselves what those whiskies are, and we know where our preferences lie. We know if our money has been spent wisely, we've got value. Blind tasting should at least be as much about putting what's in the glass or bottle on test as it is about putting us on test. I say all of that, of course, with the anxiety that was strewn throughout tonight, with me trying to make sure that I wasn't going to not discover peat in a peated whiskey, or find peat in a whiskey that wasn't peated, that type of thing. Because honestly, it can happen. There was a vPub I did with Roddy, and I declared a Benromac 21-year-old to be an Indian single malt. There is multiple times in the past where I have failed to detect peat on a clearly heavily peated whiskey. There will continue to be those moments in the future. And if I'm up here doing that in front of all of you, maybe it'll encourage you to care a little bit less about being perfect in your analysis, and care much, much more about how much the whiskey is paying back to you. Is this delicious liquid, when you reveal what it is you're sipping, to yourself, is it worth the money you paid? Does it betray what your preferences actually are? And are they different from what you might declare? Chris is saying, I said this earlier. Sorry, Anthony Lambert, I have to pick this one up. So relieved to hear that you cuss and swear. I'm ex-military, and I forget that not everybody uses the same language as the British Army. Yeah, I'd like to think I know when it's appropriate. If I swear in your company, it's probably a compliment, but I'm not gonna swear online. I'm just gonna swear in front of you because I'm comfortable with you. Looking forward to seeing how much we swear with each other, Anthony. Everyone is saying, sorry, I come back to you now, Chris. I said this earlier, but the experience of doing a blind tasting with or for friends is a wonderful thing. And I can even make a new friend, bring us closer as human beings. Whiskey is brilliant at that anyway. But when you have the mutual jeopardy of a blind tasting, I think it really, because you expose yourself fully. And I'm talking about whiskey, of course. Roy, you have right, says Cesare. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Cesare. Ginger Genius is saying I'm rubbish because I'm rubbish. I bet you're not, John. We really look forward to all of our future failures, says Jimmy Legg. And Cesare, yeah, I think you're looking forward to my future failures. Cesare is saying, we are a geek whiskey fan. Cesare, I like having you in, buddy. It's nice having you here. I do have a quiz at the end, but I realise that it is not in prepped, but I can cure that very, very quickly. I did say to everybody, and I apologise for this, that next week is yet another week, the third week of 2026, that there is no vPub. Excuse me. And the reason for that is purely because of the Easter holidays. It's sacrosanct, as I say. Easter holidays, summer holidays, there's usually an October holiday as well. And Chris, I have a lot of holidays, don't I? But I think it's right to put in breaks and to take a wee break away. You don't have to. You can follow your own breaks. When I take a break away, I'm going to make sure that there's somebody else to step up when possible to give you a space to hang out on a Thursday night. Next week, it's going to be David from Drinks Whiskey. So if you search YouTube for Drinks Whiskey, you're going to will pop up David's channel, and he's going to be putting together a Whiskey Confessions night. I don't know what this means exactly. I've declared what my confession is, and I've shared it with him. I don't know if it fits the remit. You might share it, you might not. But if you subscribe to David at Drinks Whiskey, you're going to have a place to go next Thursday night when I'm away having an Easter break with the family. I hope you'll forgive me. I'll be back with a lock-in very, very quickly in April for all my guardians, patrons and supporters, and then back immediately after next week. So 2 weeks from now, which is obviously going to be the 16th of April, I'll be back, and that gives us another vPub on the 23rd and another vPub on the 30th. So we'll still have managed 4 vPubs in the month of April because it's a 5 Thursday month. So I feel a wee bit less guilty about it. And on the 23rd, it will mean that that's the night before I fly out for the Limburg festival weekend as well. So despite the fact I'm traveling to a festival this month, it isn't going to stop me bringing another vPub to you. Anyway, we're ready for the quiz at the end. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. I don't know if I've made any sense at all. I don't know if it's been worthwhile watching, but I adore hanging out with all you guys, and I'll be here in 2 weeks' time to do so all over again with a completely different topic or guest. Cheers. For those of you that are not hanging about for the quiz at the end, thank you for your indulgence, your patience, your time. But I do have a quiz at the end for everyone. I hope it's taken down a notch or two from the last quiz I did, which turned out to be almost Menno level toughness. This one should be a wee bit easier. Bowman is saying, David is great. You should take more breaks. Yes, great. Fellow Glaswegian as well. Bruce Bernard is saying, good to see you, Bruce. I didn't realise you were in tonight. Aquavita, I have a shite palate, but I know what I like. So you have a perfect palate. This is my point. You can detect immediately if you like it or not. And Yuri is in, he's saying, I'll pick up the quiz and the replay. Thank you, Roy, for another vPub. Good night. Yuri, thank you for hanging out with me tonight, buddy. I didn't spot that you were in until now. Those of you that are a wee bit scared of the quiz at the end, if you can learn stuff from, and you teach yourself about whiskey from blind tasting, you can certainly learn stuff from the quiz at the end. And it might not be what I think you might learn from it. Yes, DVDW is, and Dan, good to see you, buddy. Is the quiz as easy as last week's Menno quiz? That was quite an easy one. I have to say, I was going to go back and do, obviously, Jim Whiskey Novice had a Menno quiz at the end, and I haven't had time to do it yet. Maybe while I'm on holiday, I'll go back and try the Menno quiz, and I'll share with you what I scored. Anthony's saying, hopefully not so many assats and banana questions as last time. Anthony, trust me, there is likely to be. Let's get rid of this unpinned message. So if you want to, I'm going to leave it there. There's no reason to take it away. If you want to give us feedback on Independent Spirits Festival for 2027, help us put together the best possible festival that we can, click on that, and it takes you 2 or 3 minutes to fill out the Google feedback form, and we'll use that to formulate the best festival we can in 2027. Okay, good luck, everyone. Remember, it's always multiple choice. You're only playing against yourselves. And leaning on your friends in the community is absolutely acceptable. 10 questions that get progressively more tricky until we finish out on an obtusely awkward, deliberately annoying ASAC question at the end. Good luck, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight if you're leaving. Question 1. Pernod Ricard and Brown-Forman have both confirmed talks are underway for a merger. So it's not a rumour anymore. They've both come out last week with press statements, or earlier this week, I can't remember now, press statements to say that they are in discussions. Nothing has been agreed yet. But I'm asking you tonight, which of these brands would be involved in this merger? A, Jack Daniels. B, Aberlour. C, Woodford Reserve. Which of those brands would be involved in a merger discussion between Brown-Forman and Pernod Ricard? Rick Johnson is saying, me and my monkey are ready. So when he talks about playing against the chimpanzee, you know, because it's multiple choice, even a chimpanzee playing the quiz at the end has a chance of getting 33%. You know, one right of every is each question. If you just guess, 33% chance. So if you just wrote down random A's, B's, or C's 10 times before you started, you'd be playing against your own chimpanzee, right? Brown-Forman and Pernod Ricard, which brands are involved? Jack Daniels, Aberlour, or Woodford Reserve? Oh, some of you are going for ABC tonight. Cesare is going for ABC along with David Owen. Whiskey with Molly. Ben is in. Good to see you, buddy. How you keeping, big guy? Bowman, also going for ABC. Fraser Ewing is confident going for ABC. Peter Box, ABC. I managed to meet Fraser Ewing last week at the Scotch for Dummies night. It's good to see you, big guy. Peter Box is saying ABC. I've already mentioned that. A, B, and C, and D for good luck, says Anthony Lambert. Well, I can tell you, everybody that did go ABC, you're absolutely right. Jack Daniels is a Brown-Forman brand. Woodford Reserve also, and Aberlour is, of course, a Pernod Ricard Chivas Brothers single malt whiskey brand. Question 2. The Wild Blue was a special edition release from which coastal island distillery? Which coastal island distillery is a Wild Blue from? A, Wild Blue is from Nicknean. B, it's from Talisker. C, it's from Scapa. Not all of the questions will be as gentle as question 1, of course, but question 1 with everyone getting it right means that nobody goes home with a donut. Nobody goes home with 0. Matt Fulick is in. Good to see you, Matt. Fantastic to see you hanging out with us as well this year already. I'll lean on the crowd, says Stevie, and say B. He's going with Talisker for the big blue. The big blue. Whiskey Weekend Drama is saying, I know the Pearl also. Fraser Ewan is saying B. Lachlan McKenzie's in. Good to see you, Lachlan. He's going Blee. Whiskey Wings is in. Good to see you, Whiskey Wings. Hope you're on time to play along for the end. Bowman is saying, I like to go home with a donut. A tasty donut rather than a frustrating 0 empty donut. All right, it's quite different, Bowman. I can tell you that the Wild Blue was a special release from Talisker, a 2025 release from Talisker. I didn't get to try it. Again, it was one of these things, a little bit like the Parley things. It's as much a marketing exercise as it is a collaboration. I just hope that the whiskey was good. Looking at the whiskey-based scores, it's kind of mediocre. Anyway, Talisker. Question 3. Which of these lists have all released a bottling named Legacy? I'm going to give you 3 lists, and you need to find the list that every single one of them on the list has got a core range or a recognized release called Legacy. A, Tomatin, Torravik, and Tormore. B, Bruichladdich, Glengoyne, and Jura. C, Wisers, Lark, and Ben Romack. Parley was sold as cheap as chips at some point, says Lunaran. I have to say, did you not find that? I remember seeing in Lidl or Aldi or wherever it was that they were giving away 10-year-old Talisker with free glasses for 20 euros. We saw huge price slashes on the special releases Taliskers, special releases Lagavulins. It's just very clumsy stuff. Don't get me wrong, for all of the picked it up at those prices, good for you. You're still getting a minimum guarantee of decent quality whiskey. This is splitting the crowd a little bit. Some of you are going for A, while some of you, such as Bob Wenting, I met Bob. Didn't I meet Bob in Leith? What a pleasure to have met you, Bob. You and your pal Toon. Going for B here. Cal Taylor is saying, oh, it could be B. Following people smarter than me, A, says Rick Johnson. Ben says B. That's scary. Okay, I can tell you that out of all of the 9 brands on the page there, only one of them does not have a legacy release, and that has Ben Romack. Wisers, Lark, Brookladdy, Glengoyne, Jura, Tomatin, Torravik, and Tormore all have legacy releases, which means that A and B are both correct. Kyle Taylor is saying, really committing to the no swearing bit on YouTube. Yes, I have. Well, I don't really. I do occasionally read out a comment, and I do sometimes swear occasionally. I just don't think I need to swear too much on YouTube. Question 4. What celebrates its 18th edition in 2026? I'm going to give you 3 things, and you tell me what is in its 18th edition this year. A. Isla's Fasheel Malts Festival. B. The Spirit of Speyside Festival. Or C. Campbellton Malts Festival. Which of those festivals is now in its 18th year? Everyone is saying goodnight to us. He's saying, I need to run, friends. Aquavite, go Artemis, Godspeed, enjoy your holiday. We all need breaks and it's important to your mental health. Everyone take care of yourself. Chris, I stayed up last night. I didn't have to stay up too late. It wasn't that late in the end, but I watched every moment of the Artemis launch. I loved it. I loved it. Yeah, it's fascinating to me. I think it's a beautiful, I know it's expensive and dangerous and serious and all of these things, but in the world that we live in right now, I felt that it was a beautiful distraction of endeavour. It's lovely to have you in, Chris. Thanks for joining us. Chris is, I think he's now retired, but he's a NASA man. Changing to C, says Fraser Ewan, as don't want to be wrong on my own. Yeah, the crowd's got your back there, Fraser. Fasheel has been going since the 1980s, originally a music and malts festival, mostly focused on malts these days, if we're honest. Spirit of Speyside has been going since 1999, but Campbellton Malts Festival since 2009. So the answer was C. As we go into the picture question, here we go as a picture from my friend Daniel Key. Sent this as a guess the distillery type question, but I'm going to ask you, where are we? Are we in A, the Highlands, B, the Lowlands, or C, Speyside? Where is this distillery? The Highlands, Lowlands, or Speyside? Harrow has spotted the worm tubs, absolutely. Big worm tubs, hopefully full of freezing cold water for the condensation. I think the Blind Whiskey needs to add a barfly logo. Ted Brooks, good to see you, Ted. How are you keeping? Are you well? Graham Fraser is on 4 out of 4. Gabriel Welding's going for A on this one. He's saying that we're in the Highlands. Steve Atkiss is suggesting that we're at B in the Lowlands. All I'll say to you, children, in this lesson is that there is a banana skin here. It's a very deliberate placement of a banana skin too. Daniel Key is in tonight. It's his photo I'm using, so he should know where we are because he took the photo. James Morgan is saying Graham, so A. Good to see you, James. Trevor Hedge, sorry, meant B. Shamila Suze, David Owen, both going for B. Bob Wenting, not in production yet. Correct, Bob. Correct, Bob. This is Kythe Distillery. According to the Malt Whisky Yearbook, they are in the Lowlands, but I believe it to be a typo because Kythe are up close to Blairgowrie, and I can tell you that would make them a Highlands distiller. So that is Kythe And the Highlands, the reason for the banana skin is the misprint. I believe it to be a misprint in the 2026 Malt Whisky Yearbook, but Highlands. If you are of the belief or conviction that where they are located in Blairgowrie puts them south of your Highland line, your interpretation of the Highland line, and you want to suggest that it's B, you are absolutely, rules of the quiz at the end, you can take that. Here we go. Question 6 is going to get trickier now. Which of these closed distilleries was rescued in 2003 by former industry directors of DCL, Distillers Company Limited, and United Spirits? Which of these closed distilleries was rescued in 2003 by two former whisky industry directors? Was it A, Bruichladdich on Islay, B, Tomintoul in Speyside, or C, Tullibardine in the Southern Highlands? A, Bruichladdich, B, Tomintoul, C, Tullibardine. Which of those closed distilleries was rescued in 2003? Luna Aaron is saying, all right, Kythe, never heard of it. Was just following Graham. Kythe is a brand new distillery. The people behind it is a chap called Aaron Chan, but you might recognise Johnny McMillan, ex-Berry Brothers and Rudd, and also Angus McRailed, well, he's had lots of roles, but he's still got a very prominent role with Decadent Drinks, Whiskey Sponge, etc., etc. Very, very well-known faces and names in the whisky sphere. They are behind Kythe Distillery. Really, really traditional stuff, direct fired, floor malted, super long fermentation, worm tub condensers, as you can see. Going to be very, very interesting to see how things go there. Going with the crowd, says David Owen, going for C. Vast majority are suggesting C on this one. Bobby is suggesting Speyburn Distillery. James Morgan is saying, well, not many other guesses, so C. I can tell you, if you're leading each other, Graham Fraser is also going for, I know it's not A and B, is Angus Dundee, so must be C. Graham Fraser is using the power of elimination. It is C, Tullibardine. Tullibardine was closed in the early 2000s. It was only closed for about a year before it was bought over by these entrepreneurial spirits from DCL and United Spirits, who built it up and did really quite well over the years, building it up as part of a retail complex there on the A9 on the road north into the Highlands. But eventually things became difficult and they sold over to Picard, of course, who own it today. A French company owns it today, but it was rescued by these guys in 2003. Question 7. It's almost like an I am a distillery type thing here. In 20 years, I grew from 500,000 bottles sold and 17th place in the global single malt sales list to 4.5 million bottles and 7th place today. Who am I? So we're talking about a distillery that went from 500,000 bottles 20 years ago to 4.5 million bottles closer to today, and 7th place from 17th 20 years ago. We're talking about A, Lagavulin, B, Talisker, C, Cardew. I am A, I am Lagavulin, B, I am Talisker, C, I am Cardew. Which of those Diageo brands has seen explosive growth in 20 years, not just in terms of volume, but also of how it places against its peers, jumping 10 places in the single malt sales rankings. 500,000 bottles a year to 4.5 million bottles. Bowman is going for E. He's quite right. Bruce Bernard celebrating a 6 out of 6. Oh, some people slipped up. Rick Johnson, Bowman has slipped up. And David Owen has slipped up a wee bit, but they've all got their pass mark. Fraser Yoon is on a 6 along with DVDW. Bowman, oh sorry, Bowman, you did slip a wee bit. Graham Fraser's on his 6. Paul Gidd's on a 6. Along with Simone is in New Zealand. Good to see you, Simone. I bet you it's Simon, but I'm going to keep saying Simone. It looks like Simone. Graham Young is saying 6. Fantastic. So am I talking about Lagavulin? Am I talking about Talisker? Or am I talking about Cardew? This is tricky, very tricky, isn't it? No, it's not Simon, it's Simone. Thank you, Simone. That means that I've been getting it right up until now. I appreciate the clarification, buddy. Cheers. Okay. Ginger Genius is going for B on this one, Talisker. Along with Where's Roy in Norway? Good to see you, buddy. Roy Ovimere, Bob Wenting, James Morgan, Black Fen, Whiskey Weekend Dram, Rick Johnson, Adler Dan Eagle, USA Export, C or B. Let's go for B, Talisker. Talisker, think about it. In the early 2000s, the only thing that existed was Talisker 10, quickly following with an 18, a Distiller's Edition, umpteen special editions, special releases, Sky, Storm, Dark Storm, just so many. We're swamped by Taliskers. It's difficult to keep up, but they've done a very, very good job out of selling lots of whiskey. They're doing very, very well. So up to position 7 in the best-selling single malts, Talisker. 4.5 million bottles a year. Question 8. The difference between a full outer mash tun and a semi-lauter mash tun is, generally speaking, what? So we talk about open cast iron mash tuns, we talk about semi-lauter, we talk about full lauter. What's the difference? A, it's mostly about a fully enclosed copper top or cover. B, steel switchers to control the foam. Or is it C, the level of control for the rakes? What do we have here? What's the difference between a semi-lauter and a full lauter mash tun? I like it when it gets a wee bit geeky, right? Tony Nelson is here. Good to see you, Tony. How are you keeping, my friend? Gabriel's going for C. I say Gabriel. Is it Gabriel? Steve Atkiss also going for C. Cesare. DJPD 1978 might be the first time I've welcomed you in under that name, but I think I recognise you as Pear. Would that be right? Is that Pear back in to hang out with us? Be nice if it was. Ian Williamson going with the crowd on this one. He's going for C, the level of control over the rakes. This is geeky, says Bowman. We like it to be a wee bit geeky. Matt Fulick is also going for C. The majority of the crowd is going for C on this one, with a couple of deviations suggesting fully enclosed copper top or cover. I can tell you, steel switchers to control foam, that would typically be seen on a fermentation vessel. So you're talking about washbacks on that. Fully enclosed copper top or cover is obviously part of any lauter mash tun, but the level of control over the rakes is what makes the difference. You want to control whether you stir that up and get a cloudy wort, or you raise the rakes up a little bit to allow for the depth of the bed and keep your wort as clear as possible. Minimum rake involvement. So C is the difference. Originally a brewing innovation, but in the last 60 or so years, it's very much part of distilling. Question 9. Which of these is the oldest? I'm going to give you 3 things, and you're going to have to try and work out which, in terms of years, is the oldest. A, William Grant's Monkey Shoulder. B, Lagavulin 12-year-old cask strength special releases. Not the original Lagavulin 12. I'm speaking about the annual special releases 12-year-old cask strength. Or C, Roy's Whiskey Journey. Sorry, wee bit self-indulgent. Yes, it is Per from Denmark. Per, it's nice to welcome you back. but it's even nicer for me to feel so familiar and be able to welcome you and recognise you, buddy. It's nice to have you in pair. I hope you're keeping well. Which of these is the oldest? Monkey Shoulder, Lagavulin 12 Cask Strength Special Releases, or my whiskey journey, my personal whiskey journey? Graham Fraser is saying not a clue. Help. Well, the branding, the Aquavitae branding would help you on C. Lagavulin 12-year-old cask strength relies on knowledge. And Monkey Shoulder, oh, it's a wild thing. Jimmy Legacy and Aquavitae, your journey started at birth. Yeah, okay. From the moment where I finally decided that I loved whiskey and I was going to explore it, that was not anywhere close to birth, buddy. But I love your romanticism. Brilliant. Okay, I can try and give you I can't give you the ages because it makes it obvious. I can tell you that William Grant's Monkey Shoulder was conceptualized in 2003 and finally made real in 2005. Lagavulin 12-year-old cask strength started in 2002. And Roy's whiskey journey started in earnest, Jimmy, in 2005, which means Lagavulin 12-year-old cask strength is the right answer, as Benny Fries buys me a generous dram. Thank you very much, Benny. It's good to see you, and my friend, how you keeping? I remember a few years ago meeting Benny in Glasgow. Cheers to you, fella. So there we go. That is a 9. There's only one question left to go, and it is, of course, an ass hat. I'm still taking a point, says Jimmy Leg. You can have it. You're welcome to it. Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. I'm enjoying these wee 3 blind drams that I poured at the end for the fantastic whiskey wheel. Really. Okay, who's on a 9 out of 9? Let's see. We have quite a few, actually. That's good shape. Whiskey Weekend Dram Harrow's on a 9 out of 9. Cesari's on a 9. Whiskey with Men Bolly is on a... Whiskey with Molly... Ben, sorry, is on a 9. Simone is on a 9. Fantastic. So many others. Steve Atkins is on a 9. Graham Young. Paul Gids. Superb, superb, superb. There's a good chance we're going to get a 10 out of 10 tonight if it were not for this ass hat. Question 10. How many Glen distilleries are currently operational in Scotland? How many Glens do we have? Is it about the same as the number of A, years of operation for Glengyle Distillery in Campbelltown? B, is it about the same as the number of years of renaissance for Brookladdie? Or is it about the same as the number of C, millions of litres per annum capacity of William Grant's Speyside distilleries? Willie Grant's have distilleries outside of Speyside too. I'm just talking about the Speyside distilleries. And I'm talking about a million litres per annum capacity. So if all those distilleries added up to 10 million litres, the answer to C would be 10. It is not 10. I know that doesn't help you in any way whatsoever. How many Glen distilleries do we have in Scotland? Operational Glen distilleries. A, years of operation for Glengyle Distillery. B, years of renaissance for Brookladdie. Or millions of litres of capacity for Willie Grant's Speyside distilleries for C. Double ass hat, says Ian Williamson. That's a wee mistake. I think the double ass hat has been left since last week's or 2 weeks ago's quiz, Ian. Don't let that lead you too much. Not that it matters. It's a tricky enough question as it is. Whiskey Weekend Dram is going for B or C. Whiskey Weekend with Molly is saying I don't think it's C. DVDW is going for C. Rick Johnson's going for B on this one. Steve Atkins is going C, why not? B or C, says Bob Wenting. He thinks he's going for C. Tricky, tricky, tricky. Jerry Miller's going for B. Matt Phillips going for B. Bruce Bernard's going for B. Steve Atkins is going for C. Simone is going for B. And Graham Fraser is saying I'll plump for A. The asshat is designed to make it so that you not only need a bit of knowledge, but you need a bit of savvy kind of deduction about you, and you also need a wee bit of luck, maybe leaning on the crowd. There's a lot of things that have to come together in order for you to get a 10 out of 10 for a typical quiz at the end. And I think this is the one tonight. I'm going to tell you the answers to see if it helps you. Years of operation for Glengyle, currently we're at 22 years. Years of Renaissance for Brookladdie, 26. Now, I know what you're going to say to me. No, they're celebrating their 25th anniversary right now. No, count the years. Yes, they celebrate 25 after they've completed 25, but they're actually in the zone of their 26th year. Millions of litres per annum of all the Willie Grant Speyside distilleries. That's Clynelish, Balvenie and Glenfiddich. We're at 30, just over 30 million litres per annum. Change to A, says Whiskey with Molly. Bob Wenton's going, yes, celebrating his 9 out of 10. So maybe B has to be B or C. Okay, I'm going to put you out your misery. We have 26 Glen distilleries. Operational in Scotland, as of today, 26. So B was the answer to that one. So that means there has been some attrition. Some people are going to dislike me a little bit. Did anybody manage a 10? Yes, Cesare. Fantastic. We have a 10 out of 10 from Cesare. Is anyone going to join him? Ted Brooks is celebrating his 9 out of 10. Fantastic. Lachlan celebrating his 7. Bob is celebrating an 8. Still a great score, Bob. Come on. Last year's Otsman. Good to see you, Lassie. He's on an 8. Paul Gids is celebrating. Ian Williamson on an 8 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for Bruce Bernard. Simone is saying, oh my goodness, 10 out of 10. Fantastic, Simone. Take it all the way to the bank. Graham Young is also celebrating a 10 out of 10. We have at least 3 tonight. Paul Gids, 4. Fantastic. Just as the chat jumps, come on. Let me keep up here. Cesare's so happy. So at least 4 in the live chat tonight on a 10 out of 10 for the quiz at the end. So many of you, even the ones that didn't get the 10 out of 10, very, very high scoring. Just another example of just how knowledgeable you all are. I know that I sat in front of you all tonight and talked about all the things that you probably know about blind tasting. But how much do we actually do it? How much do we actually take the time to pour more than 1 dram at a time, to sit and play and sip and contrast and not know what we're sipping and then reveal it to ourselves what we're sipping and surprise ourselves? I hope that sometimes the notion takes and we do it, because it's great fun. It's humbling, it's fascinating, and it reminds us of why we love this thing. I love this thing, but I love all of this thing. I love what it's brought to me, what it's brought to my side. The last few weeks have been fantastic. It's been like dreamlike, and it's fun, and it's pleasure, and it's camaraderie, and it's community, and it's handshakes, and it's hugs, and everything. It's been amazing, and it's not going to stop. We're going to keep doing it. Yes, we can do it when we're sipping blind, but yes, we can do it when we're sipping ceremony-wise. We're sharing and telling each other what we're drinking. We're cracking open new bottles and just loving the flavour chase, the next new experience, all the while raising a glass and enjoying it together. I've enjoyed hanging out with you guys again. I'm sorry that I will not be here next week, but David at Drinks Whiskey will be looking after you, and I'll be back here in 2 weeks' time for another vPub session. I'll say goodbye to you all. DVDW is saying a little harder than Menos from last week, but very well made, both by you and by us. Thanks, Roy. Thank you for being here. I think I always want to say your name's Dan. I feel like your name's Dan, but I second guess myself again. But thank you, buddy. Loved Leith. Thanks to you and David and the team. I loved having you at Leith. So glad that you loved it. Lachlan McKenzie said, thanks, Roy, and night, folks. Ta-ta for now. Good night, Lachlan. Thanks for hanging with us. Per is saying congrats to the 10 out of 10s. Jimmy Legg is saying we missed you, Peter Lee. Peter Lee emoji, well used. Is Peter Lee in tonight now? Has he appeared? Whiskey Weekend Ram, Harrow is saying stayed until the quiz but had to sleep, so goodbye. Well done, Harrow. Thank you for your endurance, buddy. Adrian is saying night, Roy, and thanks. So good to have you in, Adrian. Thanks for hanging out with us. Dan is saying, no need to second guess, so it is Dan. Fantastic, superb. And Simone is saying, thanks, Roy. Enjoy your Easter break. Rick Johnson is saying, Aquavita, enjoy your holiday. Thanks for everything. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Simone. And congratulations, Simone, on your 10 out of 10. Well done, fella. Go and subscribe to David at Drinks Whiskey. That's where you can hang out at 9:45 next week. He's going to be talking about whiskey confessions, so that could literally be anything. It should be good fun. If I've got a decent signal from where I am on holiday, somewhere in the north of Englandshire next week, I'll tune in live and hang out with you there. It would be a pleasure. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you tonight. Just loving everything that whiskey brings to our side. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time, but until then, I'll remind you all that you're very dearly loved. Slàinte mhath. Cheers all.